For the public to be harmed, India handed a sharp response with precision military strike. This time, multiple locations of Pakistan with military installations have been targeted early this morning by the Indian Armed Forces. This is a projectile that hit a Pakistani post and reduced to debris. 4 air bases in Pakistan have been struck. Precise strikes, calibrated response by Indian Armed Forces. You're looking at a very important Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, the headquarters of Pakistan military. Multiple explosions reported and recorded at the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. It's a critical hub for the Pakistan Air Force, Pakistan Army, and located basically, this is located near the GHQ. India has inflicted heavy damage to Pakistan military installations and assets. India launching retaliatory strikes on 3 air bases in Pakistan cities. DGISPR confirming Indian missile strikes on 2 Pakistan air bases, the Murid Air Base and Chakwal, and Rafiki Air Base in Shorkot in Punjab. These, remember, are precise strikes, not at civilians, but after terror hideouts and the military installations that are going after our civilians in Indian territory. Another evidence, this is the city of Lahore. A drone reportedly went up in flames and on the streets of Lahore. Locals in panic. They can be heard saying that this has been a drone blast, and you can see across the streets precisely. Again, remember, specific areas with precision strikes being targeted in retaliation to what we saw late last night. Jammu, Punjab, different areas trying to attack our bases in Jammu and Srinagar.
ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी फेज 6 में ये ड्रोन
More news coming in from Pakistan. Gunfire is being reported in the northwest Pakistan city of Peshawar. This is very important. A security official said a local airbase activated its defense system to take down a drone. So we are telling you what's unfolding. It's complete panic, ladies and gentlemen, in Pakistan, because the military bases, installations to bring down Pakistan's military have been successfully targeted at least 4 locations. Our sources with the government and armed forces have confirmed that massive heavy damage has been reported in these areas. Lahore, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, that is wherein even in Neelam Valley POK terror launch pads have been attacked. Remember, again, restraint enough being shown even now by India, despite the fact that they are charging at our civilians and military installations. Gunfire heard in the northwest Pakistan city of Peshawar, to which I go across to my colleague Shivani Sharma. Shivani, what are the details that you have? A security official saying air base locally had activated the defense system to take down a drone.
Pooja, we are hearing that multiple air bases in Pakistan have been targeted by India after it misadventured into Indian territory in multiple locations. And now what we are also hearing that close to Peshawar, there is a blast that has been reported. There are air bases across Pakistan. This is another air base in Peshawar that has been inflicted with damage. And we are also retaliating on ground, Pooja. Across the line of control, there is heavy shelling that continues and that has been responded with force by the Indian Army. The BSF has also confirmed that on the international boundary, Pakistan has opened fire, has unprovoked firing goes on, and this has been dealt with forcefully by the BSF. So multiple fronts are open right now, right from the LOC to the international border, to the airspace above Jammu and Kashmir and several western cities across India. And inside Pakistan, we've launched a powerful attack against Pakistan's military bases, right from Noor Khan and Rawalpindi to Peshawar. That's what we are also learning. Pooja.
Shivani, stay on with me. That's the big news coming in. This is early morning developments coming in. Gunfire heard in Pakistan's Peshawar. What exactly happened? Remember, India has been consistently intercepting Pakistan drones, whether it's Amritsar, whether it's Jammu Kashmir or more. However, this time also India ensuring that their military bases, their terror hideouts will be struck. But details coming in about early morning explosions now in Peshawar. Gunfire is being reported as well. What are your sources telling you, Shivani, considering you cover the defense sector so closely? There must be a complete panic. First, they did not expect that Bahawalpur, that Murid Ke, our terror bases of Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed could be attacked by the Indian Armed Forces. And then we talk about now the military bases successfully that are being targeted because that Pakistan military is harming our innocent civilians. Tell us more about what are you picking up from on the ground, perhaps within the establishment and the forces there. All right, I'll go across to Shivani in just a short while. Visuals on your screen coming in from Lahore, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, and gunfire being heard from Pakistan's Peshawar as well. Through the night, remember, as you're waking up this morning and trying to figure out what exactly happened, there's been a massive, massive escalation. In many ways, a retaliation even now with a precise, calibrated response. Through the night, there were, remember, projectiles thrown toward Rajouri. Jammu region, there were attempts to target bases in Srinagar and Avantipura, to which India has now responded. And how? The Rawalpindi Air Force Base, Noor Khan Base, which is very close to the Pakistani military headquarters. I'm also talking about explosions in Islamabad, Lahore. We also have updates coming in that the civilian airspace has now been shut for Pakistan. Viewer, you must know that last night when Pakistan was throwing these and firing missiles and rockets toward our border regions to harm our civilians, they simultaneously, for some reason, had their civilian airspace open. There were takeoff and landings happening. Why were they using civilian airspace as a shield? India and Indian military, a professional army, ensuring, however, that when they decide to respond and target, it would be directly the military base. Shivani Sharma joins me. Shivani, tell me more about what are you picking up, possibly as the panic that has spread across Pakistan's military, the defense sector, at a time, one, they did not expect Bahawalpur and Murid Ke, the terror hideouts, to be hit, and now military bases being hit.
Pooja, certainly there is panic inside Pakistan as they have been losing their installment, the defense installment, the air defense systems across different air bases in Lahore as well as Rawalpindi in Islamabad and two other air bases in Punjab province. So, apart from that, the Indian forces have been giving a forceful response to them on the IB as well as LOC in the airspaces. If they are trying to misadventure towards Punjab, we've seen that multiple drones have been shot down in the western sector. In Jammu area, we've got a response from the officials that the attempts of multiple drones that were fired towards the Indian territory were thwarted using our Zu-23 guns and several other air defense systems. So there is panic. Indeed, there are reports of the runways in its strategic air bases being destroyed with big holes, and it is actually not able to move its craft on those particular runways. So there is a lot of damage that Indian forces have inflicted onto Pakistan, especially the military air bases, because India remains focused on the military targets there, because after Pakistan has been trying to target the civil areas in Jammu and Kashmir and other areas in Punjab and Rajasthan. So India is now fighting back, and India is not only thwarting the intrusion attempts but also giving it back to Pakistan by destroying its military assets across Pakistan.
All right, we are staying with this big story coming in, gunfire being reported in Peshawar. We have more details coming in. Remember, it's going to be, Shivani, isn't it, 10:30 briefing that we are expecting will be very crucial, because the briefing that was supposed to, in fact, take place early this morning at about 5:30. But of course, for different operational reasons, at about 10:30, a joint briefing by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Defense will be conducted, and we are waiting to listen to that, to understand what are the details that are coming in. A lot has happened in the past few hours. Gunfire in the northwest Pakistani city of Peshawar. A security official says a local airbase had activated defense system to take down a drone. How do you think, Shivani, that the Pakistani military and its establishment are going to put this out? Because what they've done till now, especially their political leadership, is only embarrass themselves, expose themselves, whether it's an interview, whether it's a statement. And we have more news coming in. All right, just stay on with me. Stay on with me, Shivani. I have more news coming in, and this is with regard to how India at least is ensuring that this time, while we put out evidence of Pakistan equipment that has either failed to detonate in Punjab or in other areas, but also at this juncture ensuring that India busts the claim coming in from Pakistan. Look at that on your screens. Defense officials have said that the reports that are coming in of possible damage to our pride S-400 air defense system is fake. There has been no damage. Viewer, do not fall for Pakistan propaganda right now, because everything that India is saying is backing it with evidence, whether it's a video of any sort of successful missile strike, whether it's Neelam Valley, Pakistan-occupied Jammu Kashmir, or perhaps in other cities of Pakistan of the military bases. There is evidence that we are putting out. We're also putting out evidence of how Pakistan is harming our innocent civilians along the line of control and even in cities like Jammu and Hoshiarpur in Punjab. However, India is ensuring that we do not want to get Pakistan's narrative go unchallenged. There's been no damage to S-400, which is our defense system, which in many ways is one of the several defense systems we have. Whether we talk about the Akash missile system, the Spider, the Zu-23, all of that in different forms are being used as and when required. All of them are on high alert, activated. But Pakistan's fake claims are coming in. Shivani, they are going to ensure that they try and pull our morale down. But it's for all to see in the past 2 days of how strong India's defense systems have been. Because at this juncture, remember, and I want to keep reiterating this for the viewer, understand the differentiation of how India is responding. India's civilians have been killed, not in Pahalgam only, but also, remember, since the 1990s at least. I would, in fact, take you to 1947. But even in the latest, despite the distress and anger among all Indians, look at the response that has come from the Indian Armed Forces and the Indian government. It has been first to target the terror hideouts and then only with regard to military installations which are being used as launch pads. Shivani, tell me more about this. It appears that there was some propaganda Pakistan was trying to spread that our S-400 defense system has been damaged. That's completely false, and defense official sources are telling you the same.
Pooja, definitely there is no harm to the S-400 missile systems as per the confirmations coming in from the Air Force itself that these systems are intact, and there was a propaganda that Pakistan was trying to carry that there is a damage to S-400 air defense systems in Punjab. And this was, I must tell our viewers that this particular propaganda was also carried forward by China's Global Times, the mouthpiece of the government out there. They also were claiming similar. So you see this information warfare also playing along the military operations that are going on ground. So now the Indian government and the Indian Air Force has clarified that this is fake, what is being propagated by Pakistan about the S-400 being damaged. There is no damage to the S-400 systems of India. They remain robust and they are thwarting the attempts of Pakistani drones and missile systems entering Indian boundaries.
And remember, because that's all Pakistan has done all these years, share lies, put forth propaganda, but it's all being exposed this time in the past 2 days. It's not just about our defense system. It's also how, remember, that the kind of Chinese equipment they are buying at extremely high price. For example, the HQ-9 China-made missile shield, which was in Lahore. And when India decided to strike on that, and we realized not only that defense system was damaged, so now they are trying to put forth a propaganda that India's defense systems have been damaged as well. I can tell you, viewer, I can confirm to you that from our defense official sources, it has been confirmed that news is fake. There has been no damage to our defense systems. And also remember, these defense systems are protecting you and I, the civilians that Pakistan is hell-bent on trying to harm, whether in J&K, whether in Rajasthan, whether in Punjab and other border areas. At this juncture, it's not just about one defense system, it's a multi-layered approach. All the units that have been placed are on alert and activated as and when required. But Pakistan, clearly, neither do they have the evidence. They can only do what they have done all these years, which is to put forth their propaganda. They are clearly, remember, at this juncture, what do? The losses that they are facing in even cities and military installations and headquarters, like in Noor Khan base, in Rawalpindi, in Lahore, Islamabad, Shivani. If you can hear me, because at this juncture, India, remember, is putting it all out. Whether it's the attack that we are managing successfully on their terror hideouts or military targets, all on evidence. And sadly, the casualties also that we are facing, especially along the line of control of our civilians. But India is being very clear, very honest about all that is unfolding, unlike our rogue state nation neighbor.
Pooja, I must bring the timelines, what has happened
Go
from
ahead.
8 to 8 p.m. 8 p.m. till what has happened till now. 8 p.m., remember, the sirens were sounded and there was drone attack inflicted on India, which was spotted in multiple cities, 26 cities across the western border of India. It went on till 11:30. We got a statement at 11 that this is happening and Indian Army and Indian Air Force, the Indian forces are thwarting this attempt, but we need not panic. We are at work. That was the message from the Indian forces. And through the night, we have been reporting of this thwarting by the Indian forces at multiple locations. In fact, where we have been reporting from, in very close vicinity, we were hearing these explosions throughout the night. And we were sure that all these drones will be neutralized by Indian forces, and that's what happened. In the morning, we saw so many debris in Amritsar also that have been recovered. And in the morning, in fact, around 3 o'clock, we started getting inputs that India has already targeted the significant strategic air bases inside Pakistan, including the Rawalpindi's Noor Khan Air Base and 2 other bases and Lahore also. So this was happening through the night, and in whatever I am telling you, since late night yesterday till morning and till now, also the LOC remains active. That means the artillery gunfires have been on with full intensity, and India has been retaliating forcefully to these gunfires that Pakistan has been going ahead with. Number 2, on the international borders also, the BSF has thwarted major attempts of infiltration and firing from Pakistan side, and from the Indian Army side also there are certain posts from where heavy artillery shelling was being reported. Not only heavy artillery, but the small arms firing was also going on. That has also been reported. And early morning, around 4 o'clock, and after that, Pooja, we've been seeing and getting explosion sounds once again from across the western border in Jammu and Kashmir. And in fact, the Srinagar Kant and Srinagar whole city was also air raided, where we also got to know that the aerial assets of Pakistan have been brought down. So now, and we got a message from the MOD that there's going to be an emergency briefing at 5:45 a.m., though there were a lot more assessments because this was an active operation that still goes on to be done. This briefing has been delayed and it will be now at 10:30 a.m. and this will be a combined briefing of the MEA as well as the MOD. And meanwhile, we've been getting a lot of inputs of damages inflicted on Pakistan of all sorts, Pooja. Their drones have been neutralized, their bases have been damaged, their gunfires have been thwarted, retaliated forcefully. So this is an all-out conflict or a war that India has
Keep
now,
tracking, because 10:30 a.m. we are expecting a press conference, and I'm pretty sure that both the MOD and the External Affairs Ministry will ensure to also counter these lies coming in from Pakistan, because that's basically what Pakistan is doing. How do they then accept the kind of losses that they are facing in different cities, and how their defense systems are not able to intercept at all, and how they continuously are trying to harm our innocent civilians in different cities. All right, so what has happened in the past few hours? This is big news. India has inflicted heavy damage to multiple Pakistani military bases after late-night attacks. Pakistani military installations and assets, including the air base of Noor Khan. This is huge. This is near Pakistan's army headquarters in Rawalpindi. Another location, this is, look at the explosion on your screen. Then there is Murid in Chakwal, Rafiqi in Shorkot, also witnessing large explosions. These are all videos from on the ground. You can see the smoke, the orange balls, the clouds that come out and emerge, and this is after the Indian missile strikes. We're also reporting about how, and this is all confirmation, viewers, India has shot down a Pakistani Fatah-1 missile in the western sector, not revealing the exact location, but it was a strategic target, according to our sources, that Pakistan intended to aim at. But in time, defense systems shot down. Fatah 1 is important because that in many ways Pakistan tried to put forth. It's a surface-to-surface missile, tried to put forth as their pride. There was a recent, remember, training launch also that was done. Fatah 1, Fatah 2 is in the arsenal of Pakistan. And because that is the reason that India is revealing this information to showcase that how even Fatah missile has been intercepted and destroyed. The aim of Pakistan forces clearly not looking good at all. Pakistan Sialkot and Neelam Valley basically, Pakistan-occupied Jammu Kashmir, have also been struck with Indian arsenal. These are terror launch pads that were being used in POJK. Remember, all of this is because late last night, Pakistan's military aimed for innocent civilians in Jammu, in Srinagar. They aimed for military installations, also in Punjab, also in Rajasthan, Gujarat. These are the border states. They've been trying to harm innocent people. But there are no military installations as much is where Pakistan is trying to hit the civilian areas. We have updates now coming in from Peshawar. Gunfire is being heard in the northwestern Pakistan city. Security official adding a local air base had activated defense system to take down a drone. But it's in Islamabad, Lahore, Rawalpindi, where the explosions have not just been heard. These are not reports or conjectures we are bringing to you. It's all on video. The ground evidence that we are bringing out to you, people in panic on the cities and on the streets, they have come out. India is using, meanwhile, you should know, to protect us, our own civilians, who Pakistan intends to harm, using superior air defense systems. One of them is S-400. You must have heard a lot about it in the past 2 to 3 days. But Akash surface-to-air missiles. We also have L-70. We have the Zu-23. We also have Shilka. So there are multiple units that have been placed in different border areas specifically to carry out, whether it's precision strikes or to intercept and destroy any missile strikes. All of this, remember, vision of past few years that's coming to fruition now.
जहाज गुजरा है
ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो आगे वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी फेज 6 में ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी फेज 6 में ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी फेज 6 में ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी फेज 6 में ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी फेज 6 में ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी फेज 6 में ये ड्रोन गिरा अभी यहाँ पे आके वो देखें आग लगी हुई ये ड्रोन.
Remember the statement of Pakistan's military chief General Asim Munir about the jugular vein? The fact is, India has struck some of these jugular veins in real for Pakistan military. Let me help you understand what are these bases that have been struck by India. The Noor Khan base, one of the most prominent, this is in Rawalpindi. Rawalpindi is basically the military headquarters for Pakistan Army. So therefore, this Noor Khan air base is located very close to the GHQ. It was used for refueling, air refueling and strategic transport. It also houses the IL-78 refueler. That is why this was an important air base. It also houses the Lockheed and Hercules aircraft and provides air transport for senior officials. But with the strikes at the Noor Khan Air Base, India has clearly sent out a signal to Pakistan. Now, nothing is off the table. We are ensuring that while civilians will not be targeted in Pakistan, but to ensure that the real seat of power for Pakistan military will be hit. Look at these visuals coming in. Remember, latest images consistently coming to you. We are only putting out verified images. There may be time by the time we put it out. There may be a slight delay, but we are ensuring it's all verified, confirmed. Look at that image.
Ooh.
Huge explosion that took place. This was early this morning.
Ooh.
While people in India slept and in safety and peace, primarily in our cities because of our air defense systems, our Indian armed forces were on the job. So this is an airbase location. We'll try and get more clarity. Remember, whether it's Noor Khan base or the Rafiki air base, these are different visuals coming in. Look at that. This is a precise strike that has happened with the Indian missile. The coordinates, the location always were with the Indian Armed Forces. India always pushed for de-escalation. India always pushed for a hand of friendship with Pakistan in hope that possibly their military or their nefarious designs will change, will transform, that there could be peace, prosperity, unity and friendship between the neighbors. But it's only now realizing that that has really not been an exercise that led to any sort of change when it comes to Pakistan. Look at that. Massive explosion. This is Rawalpindi, we are told, very close to the Pakistan military headquarters, or should I say, even the seat of Pakistan's military chief, General Asim Munir. But more on that, remember, the Noor Khan base is also as much about the logistics hub for Pakistan Air Force. It hosts Pakistan IL-78 refuelers. And this is where Pakistan's power, in many ways, the seat of power for Pakistan military, both for the army and the air force has been. Let's listen in to the sounds coming in when the videos are being recorded. All right, so that is what is happening in Rawalpindi. We'll try and keep getting you different visuals coming in. Rahim Yar Khan Air Base also, we are told, in southern Punjab, destroyed by the Indian Air Force. Different visuals, one after another, as you're waking up this morning, wondering what exactly happened. Late into the night, it was Indian Armed Forces finally striking at the military air base, because perhaps now India realizing we've had enough. We've had enough, and if Pakistan does not want friendship, it does not want de-escalation, it wants to continue to harm our innocent civilians, then we will have to take action too. And look at the restraint here. After targeting the terror hideouts of Bahawalpur, Muridke and others in POJK, even now targeting not civilian areas but military bases, unlike Pakistan, which is targeting our people in Jammu and Kashmir, in Punjab, in Rajasthan and other areas. Always remember that, viewer, of how India continues to keep that differentiation between civilians and military and terrorists. Shivani Sharma joins me now. Shivani, I believe we have visuals coming in from the Rahim Yar Khan Air Base as well. And that we'll play that out. We'll play that out in just a short while. This is incredible. I can only imagine the precision that is being planned. And perhaps now in hindsight, all those huddles yesterday that were happening with the NSA, with the military chiefs, with the defense minister, home minister, other meetings that were happening, now we realize, and okay, this is the visual. All right, this is the visual confirmed. I can tell you that the confirmation that has come in, this is the Rahim Yar Air Base that has come in. Look at the massive crater on your screen. The visual, this is the Rahim Yar Khan Air Base. This is southern Punjab base in Pakistan. So while we have hit Islamabad, Lahore, all military bases primarily, and of course Rawalpindi. Shivani, tell us more. Looks like one more air base, the Rahim Yar Khan Air Base in southern Punjab. And the crater that I noticed, the precision strike.
Pooja, you can see the crater out there. Totally damaged stands the Rahim Yar Air Force Base in southern Punjab province of Pakistan. And this is the fourth air base that was totally damaged by Indian precision strikes. India had gone ahead with the ballistic missiles on Pakistan. And across Pakistan's Punjab province, there are major damages and destruction, especially to the military bases out there. And these four air bases, right from the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi to Rahim Yar Khan Air Base, they all have been very strategically important, because Noor Khan, if I talk about, that is the seat of Rawalpindi, the headquarters of Pakistan's army. All VIP movements take from there. Multiple assets, including the VIP aircraft, they are stationed out there, strategically important fighters there. They all have been damaged. The runway has been brought to severe damage. There are craters out there. And this particular picture, the videos that we are seeing from the Rahim Yar Air Base in southern Punjab, is another strategic location, which is important station for the military aircraft base of Pakistan. This has been now destroyed. So this is the magnitude of damage that India's precision strikes on these military bases in Pakistan have brought them. And this continues, Pooja. We are taking them on multiple fronts. We are heading them and hitting them hard for what they have done since yesterday. And this continues. We are getting more and more visuals of the devastation operation in Pakistan in these 4 air bases across Rawalpindi to
Stay on with me,
southern
Shivani.
Punjab province.
I want to explain
and,
this to the viewer.
the
From
Rafiki
what I
air
can
base
gather
also.
from this visual that has come in from the Rahim Yar Khan Air Base, look closely on your screens. It looks like a runway. It clearly looks like a very important stretch when it comes to the air base, possibly whether it's for the takeoff, the landing of the aircrafts or more. But this strike in southern Punjab air base, this is after Lahore, after Islamabad and after Rawalpindi, that we have the southern Punjab Rahim Yar air base, which is an air base, and it's very crucial, I must add here, for southern Punjab. The crater is very clear for us to see. That means a precise direct missile strike. Looks like sort of a runway to me. We'll try and get more details on that. Look how deep that crater is. And that means not only destroy the military installations, but also these pathways, these runways when it comes to Pakistan. Remember, in Pakistan is not using its military for self-defense, as should be protocol. It's using these military bases to target our innocent people and our military installations. Thankfully, that most of it is getting intercepted and destroyed, including the Fatah missile. But this is also remember, apart from the explosion videos that we are looking at, this is more direct. It's a ground video that has been confirmed to us from our sources, and that's why we are putting it out for you. A massive crater. Rahim Yar Khan Air Base. 4 Pakistan air bases have been destroyed in Indian attack. Looks like this is another one that is coming in, because it's Pakistan's Air Force that is sending out missiles, drone strikes, projectiles into our Indian territory and our skies, into our heavily populated civilian areas. And we have seen the kind of destruction that has caused to our innocent people. It's a reminder, again, Shivani, I bring you in here, because I can't help reiterate this consistently of how India is going after terror hideouts, then military installations of Pakistan that have been misused, unlike Pakistan that is targeting our civilians.
Pooja, Pakistan has been known to target and take shield of civilians not only in Pakistan, but now it is targeting innocent Kashmiris, innocent people across Jammu and Kashmir, in Punjab. It has been targeting the religious places out there, and there's enough evidence to it. MES has already brought out much evidence of the fact that how it did not close its airspace while it was sending projectiles to India, because it wanted to use these airlines as a shield so that India could not attack back. But it has actually failed, that it has tested the patience of India, and that's why we are seeing the strategic air bases. If I may tell you about the Rahim Yar Khan base, that is also a dual-use base, the military and the civil base, and it is also known to keep its missile storage also out there. So this is a big damage to Pakistan, where its air defense systems have been neutralized and damaged, where its surface-to-air missile systems base has been damaged, and now another system, another air base, the runways, you can see the craters out there, the whole damage. There can be no movement of the air assets in these air bases, Pooja. There remains a missile storage facility where it can, which was also strategically planned to mobilize forces towards India if required. So all this stands damaged, and the Indian forces have in a very focused and measured manner, they have targeted those important military infrastructures across Pakistan.
It's incredible, because while we have reports coming in from our territory of how even random civilian areas are being targeted, but look at the precision, the effort that has gone in. This means 4 air bases. What are the air bases that have been destroyed in this Indian missile strike attack? The Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, the Rafiki Air Base in Shorkot, the PF Murid Air Base in Chakwal, and now we have Rahim Yar Khan Air Base in southern Punjab. Different states, different cities, and precision strikes at the military installations. You come after our civilians. This is new India. We'll come after directly, whether it's terror hideouts or Pakistan's military. Shivani, what are you picking up from our defense officials? I understand, and we're of course not revealing any security details, needless to say that, but I want to understand the kind of precision that is being worked upon to ensure that you need to hit Pakistan, but you need to hit where it hurts, the military, the establishment, not the people.
Pooja, we are getting a lot of inputs through the official sources, mind you, even before the press conference or the MEA briefing starts at 10:30, because we need to keep the people in picture. We need to inform them, and all this is going on, and Indian forces are together thwarting all the attempts in every possible manner. There are multiple fronts that are open right now, remaining being thwarted by the forces. One is the LOC, where the artillery shelling was happening, and it continues in multiple locations, be it Jammu Kashmir's Poonch, Rajouri, and the western side also. To which the Indian Army has been retaliating with full force, and there are inputs that there are severe damages to military in Pakistan. On the airspace, if I say, there is a robust multi-layered air defense system that ranges from S-400 to Pichora missiles to L-70 systems, the unmanned air defense systems that are in place that have been thwarting all these attempts. We saw we've broken a story about the Zu-23 gun that was used to thwart a drone that was coming towards the western sector. So multiple such defenses on the airspace are there, and we also have our drones that have been activated now to damage and inflict the forces in Pakistan that were directed towards damages towards civilians in India. And we have our missile systems, the 6 ballistic missile system that we are getting the inputs of that have been used for this severe damage in Pakistan. So our forces are high-spirited, they are confident, they are thwarting Pakistan on every front, and the fake narrative that
Shivani,
Pakistan
stay on with me. I want the viewer to, for a minute, think about the synergy this needs. From the intelligence agencies like the Research and Analysis Wing, to the Intelligence Bureau, to the political will to be approving of how we need to go about our operations, to the Indian Armed Forces picking up on those coordinates and then carrying out these precision strikes to hurt where it must hurt Pakistan, and importantly, not the civilians. And that's why it's important to head and understand how this is united India speaking at this point. While the Pakistan military is targeting Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, targeting our temples, gurudwaras, convents in Jammu region, killing our children and women and men. That is what Pakistan is presently about. I want to now bring in Ankit Kumar for the latest on that. Ankit, take us through the 4 Pakistan air bases that have been destroyed. Heavy damages have been inflicted in different parts, and the latest coming in from the Rahim Yar Khan air base.
Before we come to those specific air bases, Pooja, it is important to question why is it that despite so many incidents, well-documented incidents of extensive damages since last night, why is it that it is taking so long and it is so difficult, unlike India, so difficult to document all those damages through visuals? Now, we have been speaking to journalists in Pakistan, and now we can confirm to our viewers on India Today that there has been a directive by the general headquarters in Rawalpindi not to broadcast any such footage, any such news of damages suffered by the Pakistan military. That is why there has been a 10 to 12 hours lag when something happens and that is being reported on Indian TV. Remember, this is unlike what we are seeing in Indian media, right? We are covering everything, but there is a blanket ban. Remember, this is December 1971 all over again. No, not because there is another Bangladesh is being created, because the kind of information restriction that we are seeing in the newsrooms, also on social media in Pakistan. What happened in December 1971? I have in my hand the front page of one of Pakistan's most popular, perhaps most credible English newspaper. This is the morning after Pakistan surrendered. Bangladesh was created. Take a look at the headline. War till victory. Yahya's pledge. Pays tribute to forces. Pakistan promised continued support by China. On the bottom, jihad means total commitment. Come fund us. On the left, fighting ends in East Wing, PAF hits in West. So this is the narrative. This is the narrative that we are witnessing for past 48 hours. Even most senior journalists, even most credible newsrooms, even restrictions on social media. Remember, there are accounts, bots run by GHQ, ISI, who are now approaching common people who have posted some of these footages, asking them to take down those footages. So there is an actual warfare going on, and there is this information warfare going on. Pooja.
Ankit, that's a very important point you're making, and that's why it may take slightly more than usual for us to be able to verify, get the details, especially with the deluge on social media. But Ankit, I want you to stay on. Tell me now, for the viewer tuning in right now, when you hit and damage the military bases in the manner in which we've witnessed precise strikes that are happening, different cities, different areas, what is the impact of it? It is clearly a fact that at least parts of these air bases must have been crippled, the manner in which they were being misused to target our innocent civilians.
Let me turn this question around, Pooja. What if your prime minister cannot fly? What if your army chief cannot fly? What if your DGISI cannot fly? This air base in Rawalpindi is used as the home base of all of VIP flights in Pakistan. Anybody who's supposed to come in Islamabad, this airbase is used. All your refuelers, that is the home.
Stay on with me. Stay on with me. I need you on the big breaking coming in. India has crippled Pakistan Air Defense Unit in Chaklala. India targeting the Chinese HQ-16 Pakistan Air Defense System. Must be a familiar name. It was HQ-9 that barely 2 days ago in Lahore, remember, again Chinese made and sold to Pakistan, was damaged, and how in the Indian missile strikes. We are now hearing of information coming in from Chaklala that Pakistan's air defense system has been targeted. This is incredible precision work being done. The base was active, remember, when India was carrying out strikes on the terror camps in Bahawalpur and Muridke and was launching missiles against Indian aircrafts. We'll try and understand the level of damage that has been caused to the HQ-16, but this is huge because these are the two big systems. Ankit, if I can come to you on that, the two big air defense systems that Lahore has was HQ-9, HQ-16. Shivani Sharma also bringing us that breaking news. Shivani, first to you. If HQ-16 also appears to have been damaged by the Indian precise military strikes, what does that mean?
See, Pooja, India has already briefed about the air defense systems damaged by the Indian Armed Forces strike. And when we talk about the Chaklala, the fresh inputs that we are getting about the damages that have been inflicted on this air base by India was being used for these multiple air strikes, the drone strikes against India. And now these HQ-9 systems, the HQ-16 systems, the air defense systems that they were activating even when we were carrying out the Operation Sindoor stand damaged. And this, mind you, is a Chinese system, a failed Chinese system that was sold to Pakistan by China, and it has totally been damaged by India. So you see the specifics of this operation that India has been carrying out against Pakistan's nefarious designs. It has now been declared, or the inputs that we are getting, that the Chaklala air base that we were speaking about, that was all earlier damaged by India, was being used. Its air defense systems were activated when India was carrying out the Operation Sindoor. So this is now destructed, completely out of order. No air defense Pakistan has on this particular Pakistani air base in Chaklala. So one more shield lost by Pakistan. We had already reported that there were damages earlier on the Lahore air base, similar air defense systems, the HQ-9, the HQ-16, which Ankit was also explaining about, that these are the systems that were sold at a very high price to Pakistan, but it stands failed. Made in China systems now destroyed by India, and Pakistan stands without any air shield now.
Is incredible. Remember first, and look at the strategy here by the Indian military to go after first precise terror hideouts, because that was the aim. That it was Bahawalpur, Muridke and others, including in POJK. That did not seem to deter Pakistan. They continued to launch attacks against our civilians and military installations. We've been able to defend it for now. Then came in these strikes at military bases. And Shivani, as you're telling us more about how now the air defense systems, HQ-9, remember, it is important to understand, a long-range semi-active radar, China-made missile shield that was in Lahore, HQ-9, that was then damaged by the Indian strikes. Now it's about HQ-16. Shivani, from our understanding, these were the two two main defense systems that Pakistan had. Now, in many ways, I don't think anyway they were being able to intercept, because each time the missile strikes have happened, they've successfully implemented their agenda from India into Pakistan's territory, whether Bahawalpur, whether Murid ke, POJ or this time Lahore, Islamabad, Rawalpindi.
Pooja, if we talk about the HQ-16 system, this, as you were also pointing out, is a Chinese system, the medium-range surface-to-air missile system that was a cheap copy of Russia's S-300 systems. And now, you know, India has S-400, the most advanced air defense systems. So this Chinese cheap copy of S-300, that is HQ-16, that was installed and being used by Pakistan to activate its air defenses when India was carrying strikes against the terror outfits during Operation Sindoor, the 9 terror outfits, where with precision measure and focused response, India had destroyed these terrorists. More than 100 terrorists were killed. And now these air defense systems stand destroyed. So the efficiency, you can always... it's actually ahead. Everybody can understand the efficiency or how good these systems are that stand destroyed by the Indian missiles, and there is no shield on the HQ by the HQ-16 and the HQ-9 systems that were the Chinese systems that were supplied to Pakistan's army, and they've been in service for quite some time now with Pakistan. But now Pakistan's major air bases have been destroyed. The runways have been inflicted with big craters. No movement can take place out there. The air defense shield has gone. So the kind of collaboration
this is turning out to be
Pakistan and China in terms of...
Stay on with me. First, it's exposing the kind of material equipment, the ammunition, the military hardware that China has sold to Pakistan, and I must add, at a massive amount. Remember, a maximum amount of Pakistan's defense budget goes to their defense, more than education, health and more. And yet, these are the kind of equipments that they have had. It's not been able to intercept. It's not been able to retaliate, though it is, of course, targeting innocent civilians via either jihadists or Pakistan military. But in turn, look at the effort and strategy of the Indian Armed Forces. Targeting, one, to cripple the air bases that cannot be used or at least cause heavy damage. Then we are talking about the shield missile systems that have been damaged as well, the HQ-9, the HQ-16. And this is in response, remember, viewer, listen to me. It's not just about the Pahalgam massacre. That is, of course, in many ways was the moment when India realized you cannot keep taking it lying down. You cannot keep expecting de-escalation from Pakistan. Think of the 1990s Kashmir, the Pathankot attack, the Parliament attack, all the decades, and 26/11 especially. The targeted attacks that we have had in Riyasi and Rajouri, multiple attacks that Indians have had to face, and perhaps it was time India realized you need to hit back at Pakistan, because they are not going to change. They are not going to in any way realize what they have been doing. And there, for Pakistan, the vision is clear. They want to attack and target India. For India, the message is clear. They will not harm civilians, but they will go after the ones who have been harming ours. Shivani Sharma continues to be with us. Shivani, let's talk about this latest visual. The Rahim Yar Khan Air Base. This is southern Punjab. This is one of the visuals, apart from the other 4 air bases, where it's been late-night explosions, visuals that have come in as ground evidence. This early morning after dawn, the record of the video very categorically shows a massive crater, which means a massive missile strike. Do you have details coming in about when did it happen, the details of the kind of missile used? Because on the other side, India successfully intercepted and destroyed the Fatah missile of Pakistan.
Pooja, what we are given to understand is through the night this operation has happened right after when Jammu and Srinagar, Avantipura, all these locations were hit by the drones from Pakistan. India started targeting these air bases across Pakistan, starting from the Noor Khan, which is in Rawalpindi, important strategic base, to Rahim Yar Khan, where we are seeing the visuals of this crater that we can see has been created out there with the big ballistic missile. That seems this was a big missile that was used by India, because what we are getting the inputs are that around 6 ballistic missiles were fired upon these military establishments across Pakistan, and this crater shows a very heavy long-range missile that has been now used against this kind of military establishment that happens to be strategic in nature, because it is known to be a store of multiple missile systems for Pakistan's Air Force, and it has underground shelters too. It also has a strategic base for the JF Thunders. The Pakistani Air Force uses these aircraft, and this was a dual-use air base, the Rahimyar Khan Air Base, where the civil movement also being taken up, the military movement was also being taken up. There were storage facilities that were being made out there. This is in the southern province of Punjab in Pakistan. So the kind of visuals we see that have been very evidently showing that there are severe damages. The craters suggest that this was a ballistic missile which was fired upon by India and Indian forces together in close coordination, because we need to wait for the exact timing. Like in Operation Sindoor, we were given a timeline of 24 minutes in which all these 9 locations was destroyed. So what we understand that there was a closely coordinated operation by Indian Armed Forces that was going on last night in Pakistan to attack these military infrastructures, and specifically selected because these were the military infrastructure or the air bases that were being used to bring these drones towards India. The air defense systems there have been destroyed, Pooja.
Stay on with me. The first target that happened from India was 25 minutes, 9 targets. Now, this is the latest visual that has come in. I'm informed this is from Sialkot in Punjab. This is important, remember. Look at these visuals that are coming in. India is speaking this time as a united force, whether it's with regard to public on the ground or with the armed forces, the synergy with the political will, the intelligence agencies, and the evidence, importantly, the evidence that India is speaking with. Now, what we have is information coming in. Remember, air bases that have been targeted. This is Sialkot, information coming in about, remember how, like in Neelam Valley in Pakistan-occupied Jammu Kashmir, in the past few hours, terror launch pads have been hit. Again, in Sialkot, which is in Punjab, this is where we are told that other terror launch pads have been hit as well. Again, a precision strike. Not civilian areas like Pakistan is trying to hit for us, but for India, India is ensuring that they are targeting terror launch pads. This needs a synergy like you've never heard before. Remember, the details still not out and unknown to us. Behind those curtains are Indian armed forces with the agencies, with the government, ensuring as a coordinated effort to hit where it hurts. These launch pads were being used to foster terror, to push forth and infiltrate jihadists into our country, to harm our innocent people. Shivani Sharma continues to be with us. Shivani, incredible. We finished with one video. We were talking about the Rahimyar Khan Air Base and where there's been a massive crater. And by then we have another video coming in from Sialkot. What are the details you have coming in from here?
See, in Sialkot also we are hearing that there is a major damage that has been brought to Pakistan after it attempted a strike towards India. And Sialkot, we can see there are heavy flames in this particular video that suggests of a missile attack here too, Pooja. So we have to see that in Sialkot, which also happens to be a major base for Pakistani forces, has been destroyed out there. The air bases along with the military establishments have been targeted by India's ballistic missiles that have brought a lot of damage out to all these assets, including the aircraft, the air defense systems, the forces that have been deployed, and they were acting and planning action against India. So in Sialkot too, we are getting these visuals from where heavy damages have been now reported to Pakistan. And what we are also learning that Pakistan had launched a Fateh missile towards India. This also again is a ballistic missile that has a range of around 120 to 150 kilometers. So this was what we are being told through the sources was directed towards a very strategically important location in India. that was intercepted and brought down within no time, and a major damage was thwarted by India. So India then brought its ballistic missiles across Pakistani air bases. It damaged them severely, and the pictures, the videos we are getting, Pooja, they show the devastation, the measure, the magnitude of a hit back Pakistan has got from us.
At 10:30 a.m., I can say this would be one of the most awaited press briefings by the Ministry of Defence and the Ministry of External Affairs. What happened in the past at least 5 to 6 hours? Remember, most of us went to sleep when there were these projectiles again seen over the skies over Jammu, Punjab, other cities. There were some incidents that were reported as well. However, Indian armed forces immediately activated on alert, hitting Pakistan, crippling its air bases. 4 air bases in different cities have been hit. Now more evidence coming in from Sialkot. We are told that these are locations where terror launch pads were situated. So Neelam Valley in POJK, and we'll soon put out that video as well. Then from Sialkot in Punjab, another video that has come in. Precise, coordinated, and yet, I must add, calibrated response. These coordinated responses are still ensuring that they are hitting at military bases to cripple it, to ensure it's not about complete destruction. It's about ensuring that Pakistan realizes that India is fully aware where the misuse of the air bases of these terror launch pads that have been happening over the past few years. That's the big news coming in. All right, I have more news coming in. This is from Sialkot. We have details now. We have details that the terror launch pad at Luni in Sialkot, and that has been destroyed by the border security force, is what we are told. So that means it's very close. This is near Akhnur. So this is very close when it comes to the international border. This, we are told, is by the border security force. We'll try and continue to get more details on that. Shivani Sharma continues to be with us. And we'll also put out other visuals from different air bases that have come in from the Neelam Valley, different locations, and a reminder that India is now speaking up with evidence. It's not conjecture, ladies and gentlemen. We are putting out what is verified, confirmed. It may take us slightly more time than usual, but we are ensuring that you now have verified information because of the trust that you've put in India today. Now we have Shivani with the latest details coming in. Shivani, this means that whether it's the border security force, the boots on the ground, the Indian Army, or whether it's the Air Force, it's a coordinated effort that we are looking at right now. It's been quite a morning. This morning when we woke up, we've been flooded with visuals that have come in from the targeted attacks from the Indian Armed Forces. Now, there was a press briefing earlier announced at about 5:45 a.m., now 10:30 is where, because it was an active operation, so perhaps more assessment details that have come in. And to ensure that the Ministry of Defence, Ministry of External Affairs will put out details, and we'll wait for that official clarity. So we are not going to put out any conjecture. We are putting out confirmed information from our sources, and of course at 10:30, we hope it's going to be an elaborate, detailed press briefing about what and where were hit in the past few hours. From about 1 to 2 a.m. when the operation started. The first phase, remember, when we started hitting the terror targets. 9 terror targets, 25 minutes. What was the timeline in this operation? This, we are told, has been an operation. This one that you're looking at is reportedly by the border security force, which means boots on the ground are on alert. There's been attempted infiltration by Pakistan, especially in the Samba sector in the past few hours. That also was foiled, remember, a day ago. We are looking at how the airspaces that Pakistan is attempting to breach, especially into J&K, that is being foiled successfully by our air defense system. Incredible work, remember, whether it comes to our S-400, the Akash missile system, the Spider, the L-70, the Zu-23. But it's also about alertness, coordination, synergy between the armed forces, between the agencies on the ground, and importantly, all of this, remember, briefing that is being done with the top leadership. And Prime Minister Modi's message here becoming all too clear, isn't it? On the first day itself, when he had said before the first strike, complete operational freedom to the Indian Armed Forces. They decide the mode, the timing, the target. It will come not when Pakistan expects it, but when India decides to hit. Remember, after the first strike, we were expecting it, if it has proven to be a certain deterrent for Pakistan. Clearly, it wasn't enough. They continued to target our civilian population, continued to attempt to target our military installations. Shivani Sharma has been reporting from the border all these days, and she now joins me. Shivani, more visuals coming in. Now, Sialkot, it looks like this was an operation by the Border Security Force. Tell us about what are you looking at the coordination when it comes to how each one of these units are alert, responding as befitting as they feel.
See, a close coordination between all the security forces is established right before the Operation Sindoor even started. There has been always a coordination, but at this hour, since last 2 days, we are seeing an excellent synergy between the Indian Armed Forces and the BSF, the CRPF, the police out here. So on all fronts, we are together, and the Sialkot visuals that we were putting out, Pooja, are of a BSF attack on a terror outfit close to Aknoor in Sialkot area, which is across the border. This side we have Aknoor, from where we were getting some inputs of explosions last night. This area was also on target of Pakistan. And across the international boundary, BSF has thwarted this major attempt and also attacked these terror outfits that were right inside the Pakistan's boundary, close to these borders. So this is the fire that has been caused to this terror outfit that was running inside Sialkot region in a nexus, close nexus with Pakistan's armed forces. So now BSF has neutralized this terror outfit. 9 have already been neutralized, and much more is being done across the line of control and also the international boundaries, where all the forces are in a synergy to thwart any nefarious design of the Pakistanis. And very important out here, all these messages that we are getting, Pooja, the message that these forces are giving to all Indians is that the spirit to protect India is unshaken.
Absolutely.
So that should be taken as an assurance from the forces who have been there at task while we all were reporting, and all these operations have been happening. So we are getting those inputs, and now we are getting a number of videos of this devastation across Pakistan.
Shivani, look at the communication and coordination. I think India also indulging in this information warfare with the right spirit, because what is happening is, earlier India believed that the world would believe what is happening. They felt they didn't have to consistently put out their views. But this time, with each video, it's the evidence that India is speaking with. And Prime Minister Modi and the government has said, this is new India. Remember, to anyone who says de-escalate, say no to war, the kindness that has been of India has been consistently misused. We have tried to de-escalate, but we got the 1999 Kargil war. We tried to extend a hand of friendship. We got 26/11. We tried to de-escalate even more and got targeted terror attacks across Jammu Kashmir, from Rajouri to Riyasi, and then the Pahalgam massacre. This time India decided we need to stand united and hit back. And then remember the differentiation. Shivani, isn't it? You tell me. You're at the border. You can see how India military, and also because you closely track the defense sector, there has been a lot of distress and anger among all Indians since the Pahalgam carnage. And yet look at the calibrated response of the Indian military, hitting first terror hideouts, then the military bases, crippling it to a certain level. Heavy damage inflicted. In turn, what is Pakistan still doing? It's targeting our innocent civilians, who I must say at the border, extremely brave, stand with the armed forces and the nation even now.
Certainly, Pooja, it is the Indian sentiment. The population in India, they wanted a strict punitive action against Pakistan after Pahalgam, and that emotion was respected by the Prime Minister, the political leadership and the armed forces, and that's why Operation Sindoor was designed, that there's a limit to our patience. We've been suffering terrorism since so many decades, but no, this is new India. We have transformed the forces, and we have a response now that we will not be bowing down to any kind of attempts from Pakistan that will try to compromise our sovereignty. And there too, Pooja, you see the kind of restraint the Indian armed forces have been maintaining. They had been specifically in a focused manner, in a measured manner. They were only targeting the terror outfits. They did not touch any civilian areas. They did not touch any military establishment. And since then, we've been seeing what Pakistan has been doing. It has been targeting the Indian villages across the line line of control. We've been reporting from these border villages the kind of agony, the kind of losses they have suffered. But these
extremely
villages
brave.
also, they say
Extremely
that
brave. Remember that Pakistan military has targeted our temple, gurdwaras, mosques, convent, and that is where all communities still standing united and strong and bracing that kind of attack from Pakistan military. Shivani, stay on with me. It's 10 a.m. In the next half an hour, we are expecting a press briefing from the Ministry of Defense, from the Ministry of External Affairs, a joint briefing. But if you're tuning in right now, wondering what exactly happened in the past few hours, let me take you through the details. 4 air bases have been crippled and have received heavy damages in Pakistan by India's military strikes. Let me start with Rawalpindi, the headquarters when it comes to Pakistan Army. That is where the Noor Khan Air Base has been struck and how. And this is very close to the GHQ, which is the Army headquarters in Rawalpindi. It's the seat for General Asim Munir. What was Noor Khan Air Force Base? It was used for aerial refueling, strategic transport. This is the location that houses the IL-78 refueler. It also aircrafts the Lockheed and the Hercules aircraft. It provides, this is important point, viewer, it provides air transport for the senior officials. There had been all sort of speculation if some from Pakistan military establishment are trying to flee. This in many ways has crippled specifically those areas. The real seat of power in Rawalpindi in Pakistan military. Let me take you to Rafiki Air Base. The 14th Squadron tail choppers, this was a multi-purpose air base. This is where the JF-17 aircrafts are housed. Remember, again, the squadron of China-made JF-17, the Mirage fighter aircrafts, and some utility helicopters as well. All of these bases, remember, were being misused to target civilian and military installations in India. Then comes in the Murid Air Base, another city, another air base. This also housed several specialized squadrons, houses diverse fleet of unmanned drones, primarily reused for different missions. And when I say drones, you must understand the drone strikes that have recently happened. Just a short while ago, a drone that has been, in fact, destroyed and targeted by the Indian military that was attempting to enter into Indian territory. But Murid Air Base is very important. It's the hub of drone operations, and that precisely has been used against India, not just in the past 2 days, in fact, for the past 2 to 3 years. We have some big news coming in. Let's take a look at that. Huddles and meetings begin in the national capital, Delhi. And now we can tell you with some confidence that in the past 2 days, every meeting is not just review, it's also preparing for the next step. 24 hours ago, NSA Doval meeting Prime Minister Modi. Now in the latest, it's 10:11, ladies and gentlemen. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has reached 7 LKM to brief Prime Minister Modi. The meeting that took place 24 hours ago, now we know what has happened, the aftermath on your screens. Craters in the Rahim Khan Air Base in southern Punjab and other explosions that can be seen. Now NSA Ajit Doval, who of course has received inputs from the Indian military, other sources, will now be briefing Prime Minister Modi. But I can tell you from our sources, our reporters on the ground have confirmed that Prime Minister Modi has consistently been in real time tracking the operations, of course. So as the Home Minister, the Defense Minister, but this is as much a part of protocol. NSA Ajit Doval reaching LKM. Think about this, viewer, as you wake up, the kind of synergy that has been required to be able to work in a coordinated manner, to be able to hit where it hurts Pakistan and not hit the civilians. Piyush Mishra joins me on this. Piyush, so the huddles begin 10:15 right now, 10:30 we're expecting a press briefing. Tell us about this meeting, NSA Doval to brief Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
So that's right. As we are speaking, Pooja, the meeting is underway there at Base 7 local landmark, where National Security Advisor Ajit Doval is right now briefing Prime Minister on the current situation. Remember that throughout the night, massive escalation has taken place from the side of Pakistan, and we have given befitting reply. In fact, there are also reports of various, damages being inflicted to Pakistan, and looking at the developments so far now taking place. National Security Advisor is right now briefing PM Narendra Modi, and he has been briefing him consistently, not only today, in the last more than 2 weeks since Pahalgam attack. We have seen multiple meetings taking place between PM Narendra Modi and the National Security Advisor. In fact, credible sources have also told us that since Pahalgam attack, Prime Minister has held more than 20 to 25 meetings with top officials. And as we are speaking, he's also getting briefed by National Security Advisor. Remember that last night also there was a meeting in which all defense service chiefs were present. Rajnath Singh was also there. NSA, in fact, himself was also present. And this is a big, crucial meeting which is right now underway. They're at 7 Local and Marg, and this meeting is also coming minutes before the official press conference of Ministry of External Affairs and Indian government on the operations those have been carried last night.
Piyush, we're also playing out on our screens some of the images that came from yesterday's meeting. And in many ways, even though I don't want to overanalyze, but the body language, it's not somber, it's confident. The posturing is for all to see that we have a strategy in place. There were smiles as well seen. Do you think it's also in many ways a messaging coming in from the Indian military and of course our leadership that this is a new united India, and now that it is required, we will show a lesson and put it forth for Pakistan to see?
Well, absolutely, Pooja. We have seen in the last few days Narendra Modi holding various meetings, and yesterday's meeting was a very important meeting in which we are seeing how Prime Minister has been getting briefed, and he's also giving his own guidance, his own information with all the officials those who are present there at 7 Local and Marg. Remember that not only that meeting with the PM at 7 Local and Marg, before that yesterday in the morning when Defence Minister Rajnath Singh met with all trial services chiefs, during that time also we had seen a confident posture, a smiling face, which certainly indicating that we are very much ready to face any kind of danger coming in from Pakistan. Not only ready, but we will give a befitting reply. We have been giving a strongest possible reply to Pakistan and teaching a lesson to Pakistan, and we are very much ready to defend our borders, and we are also doing so. So looking at the developments that are now taking place, we are seeing these meetings taking place where PM Narendra Modi is being briefed about all the developments. Yesterday, all top officials from Defence Ministry briefed the Prime Minister, and today we are now seeing National Security Advisor.
Piyush, stay on with me. Stay on with me. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi, especially to brief about what exactly unfolded. And what an incredible morning this has turned out to be. India trying best to protect our civilians, our military installations with our defense systems, in turn inflicting heavy damage to the Pakistan air bases and terror hideouts in multiple cities. Also remember, viewer, Pakistan attempted to hit at 15 Indian cities in the last 24 hours. All those efforts were thwarted, and how? As we look at these images, look closely on your screen. The gentlemen that you're looking at, one by one, remember the leaders of the Indian Army, the second largest military being led, and a political will together this time to hit at Pakistan. But let me help you understand. Look closely on your screen. The multiple cities that I talk about with regard to the air bases, Chaklala, Minhas Kamra, Peshawar, where gunfire was reported just about a short while ago, Kohat, Quetta, Miawali, Sargoda, Chandler, Lahore. Lahore was important again, remember, because as much with the kind of military base that has been targeted, Lahore was where the HQ-9 defense system, China-made defense system for Pakistan was damaged. Then HQ-16 also has been hit now. Samungli, Multan, Shehbaz, Rafiki, again, another air base that has been hit in the overnight strikes. Bahawalpur, the terror hideout, Jaish-e-Mohammed involved in the Pulwama attack, the leader who was released after the IC-814 hijacking. Nawab Shah, Hyderabad, Faisal, Karachi, Masroor, Mirpur Khas. These are some of the prominent cities that we are looking at. Remember, the coordinates were always there with the Indian Armed Forces. We never thought we'll have to use it, believing and in hope that Pakistan will change, transform, want to become friends, and united face prosperity in the region. India realizing that's not a possibility anymore. So we are going to wait for details coming up at 10:30 a.m. It's a matter of pride as much, remember. The details not known to us, but the strategy that must have gone with precision strikes by the Indian Armed Forces. India's historic counter airstrike. Remember, 2 days of punishing air raids on Pakistan, not how they expected. First on the terror hideouts, Muridke, POJK, Bahawalpur. Then, in hope that possibly Pakistan will take a step back, realizing that's not happening, 4 Pakistani air bases were then forced to face and where heavy damage was inflicted by the Indian Armed Forces. I want to tell you about Chaklala, Rawalpindi, the recent is Sialkot. This is an all-out strike, ladies and gentlemen, that you're looking at. After Balakot in 2019, again, a strike that we believed would possibly set a deterrent for Pakistan didn't happen. Jaish-e-Mohammed has been on target. You can see how the military personnel of Pakistan are attending terrorist funerals, the images that the world has seen by now. Now, the Pakistan military, that clearly in many ways is all too powerful, more than their civil political leadership. But at this juncture, the 2 days of strikes, this is going to go into history books. How India responded despite the distress and the anger that we all faced, we all had, in grief after the Pahalgam massacre. But look at the restraint also as much that the professional army, the Indian army showed, but hitting back where it hurts. We're talking about terror hideouts in POJK. We're talking about cities like Lahore, Islamabad, Rawalpindi especially, where air bases have faced heavy damage. 10:30 a.m., Ministry of Defense, Ministry of External Affairs will be conducting that briefing. I can tell you, this is going to be the most awaited briefing that we have had in the past 3 to 4 days at least, because we would want to know the official details. There are a lot of details as it is still an active operation. Perhaps that is the reason that the 5:45 a.m. briefing was postponed to 10:30. But will we now know? And I'm curious about the timeline, the specific targets, the kind of damage that has been inflicted and what kind of impact that it has had on Pakistan air bases. We'll have our reporters on the ground who have been consistently reporting about what has been happening in the border areas. Remember, while we've had to face blackout in our residents from Punjab to Rajasthan to J&K and other areas, however, the citizens of this country stand united. Our temples, gurdwaras, convents have been attacked by Pakistan military, but it's the same population, the public, that stands with the nation and armed forces. Because everyone, even in border areas, I'll tell you, have realized it is a time to at least teach a lesson and to tell Pakistan that Indian kindness has been misused for way too long. Now let's take a look at how Pakistan tried to unleash another wave of drone attacks on India for the second consecutive day. Cowardly acts, needless to say that, targeting innocent civilians, launching armed drone strikes. Residential, heavily populated areas, for example, right in Jammu city. There are no military installations right in the middle of the city, and yet that meant several civilian houses were targeted. Innocent lives have been endangered. But it's the proud people, the proud Indians of these cities who continue to stand strong. Then reports came in from Punjab's Firozpur that there was a house that caught fire after a Pakistani drone had hit, and damage was reported as well. Some family members sustained severe injuries. These are unprovoked attacks, remember, and that is the reason. It was after this drone strike that happened between about 8 to 10 p.m. that overnight, when many of us went to sleep thinking that there couldn't be and efforts that have happened, Indian armed forces decided to hit back. You come after our innocent civilians, and we will show you what Indian armed forces and Indian really is about. Amritsar is on red alert. Meanwhile, remember, the holy city of Amritsar, of the Golden Temple, people have been advised to stay indoor. If you're a resident of Punjab, as a border state, remember, administration has put out advisories to be cautious and to stay safe, to ensure to stay indoors. Drone debris on your screens. This is from an agricultural field in Amritsar. A projectile debris, again, all on evidence. This is not conjecture. We'll put out the video of the projectile debris in Rajasthan's Barmer. So Rajasthan, Punjab, J&K, multiple residential cities are being targeted by Pakistan.
This red and this yellow, all this is the remains of the drone of Pakistan, which was shot down by the Indian armed forces. And around me you can see this field was on fire because the moment it was fired upon by the Indian armed forces, this field caught on fire, and that is why you can see here that the public has gathered here, and they are also very curious that what exactly happened. But no civilian injury has been reported so far. Amritsar has been on red alert.
पाकिस्तान की तरफ से हेवी आर्टिलरी शेलिंग और खासतौर पे इस वक्त हम हैं रजौरी में, जहां पे आप देख सकते हैं कि गाड़ी किस तरह से इम्पैक्ट हुई है। और ये देखिए जो गोला है उसके जो छर्रे हैं वो इस तरफ गए हैं और आपको बताइए कई मीटर दूर है वहां पे आर्टिलरी शेल गिरा है। और उसके बाद हम देख रहे हैं कि किस तरह से यहाँ पर हम बात करते हैं यहाँ के निवासियों से। आप ट्रक चला रहे थे जिस वक्त ब्लास्ट हुआ, क्या हुआ था?
जी बस धुआं और ब्लास्ट हो गया, गाड़ी देखो तो पकड़ हो गई और भाग गए, हम गाड़ी छोड़ के भाग गए। अपना तफरी मच गई, भाग गए, क्या करना था।
ये पीछे भी ट्रक खड़ा हुआ है और ये मोटरसाइकिल भी है। तो ये बताइए कि आप कहाँ पे थे?
मैं घर पे था, मुझे सरदार जी ने फोन के बुलाया था तो मैं यहाँ पे आया था। सुबह का बहुत पैनिक हुआ, हम भागने के चक्कर में हम देखने के लिए था कि रास्ता वगैरह खुला है कि नहीं, मैं अपनी फैमिली निकालूंगा यहाँ से। आगे देखा ये मसला बना हुआ तो बहुत परेशान है मैम। हम इंडिया की गवर्नमेंट से रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि इनको मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया जाए, जो कि ये हमारे पे जुल्म कर रहे हैं, आज 30 साल से जुल्म कर रहे हैं हमारे पे ये। तो इनको ये मुंह तोड़ एक बार जो इनका रात पर करके तो खत्म कर दीजिए मैम।
आप लोग यहाँ से जा रहे हैं क्या?
अभी तो फिलहाल गाड़ी तो हमारे को मिली नहीं, तो अभी देखते हैं कोई गाड़ी मिलेगी तभी जाएंगे।
धमाकों के वजह से जा रहे हैं कि क्या?
धमाकों की वजह से जा रहे हैं, तो कहाँ रहेंगे हम, हमारे लिए तो खतरा है यहाँ से सभी जगह। क्या
तो ये आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ से थोड़ी दूर पे धमाका हुआ था, जिसकी वजह से आप देख रहे हैं कि गाड़ी भी बीच में थम गई है। और इस तरह से हमें जो बताया गया है और अब कंफर्मेशन आ रही है कि जो एडीसी हैं यहाँ के, उनकी डेथ हुई है शेलिंग की वजह से। और खास तौर पे रजौरी से ग्राउंड रिपोर्ट हम दिखा रहे थे। What we've seen is Pakistan's provocation by firing Fateh-1 missile, surface-to-surface missile. It has been intercepted, but let me tell you, people at line of control have borne the brunt. There have been movement coming in, especially what we know is that there have been reverberations, and what we can confirm to you that several civilian areas have been targeted, especially across line of control previously in Punch, and today what we know is civilian areas being targeted in Rajouri as well. We're getting frantic phone calls from people. What we can also tell you is we have with us a resident who stays in forward location in Punch, who moved back to hinterland, but there is firing even here. Just have a word. ये बताइए कि पुंछ में पिछले दिनों क्या हुआ और आप जब यहाँ पर आए अब तो फायरिंग हो रही है यहाँ पर?
मैम पुंछ में अभी पिछले 2-3 दिन से बहुत ज़्यादा फायरिंग हो रही है और कल रात को तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा फायरिंग हुई, इसलिए हमें अभी निकलना पड़ रहा है यहाँ से कि फायरिंग बहुत ज़्यादा हो रही है और शेलिंग इतनी ज़्यादा हो रही है कि कल रात को तो यहाँ पुंछ में कोई सोया ही नहीं रात को। तो बस जैसे जैसे माहौल ख़राब होता जा रहा है तो निकलना पड़ रहा है यहाँ से।
Innocent civilians, non-combatants being targeted by Pakistan, and that is why what we know is that Pakistan's defense minister Khwaja Asif, he's been making those provocative statements, telling people that there is no other option but war. But eventually, when Pakistan launched its missile Fateh-1, it has been intercepted, and this is a huge defense system working in place. But what we also see is a retaliation coming into the Pakistani army, especially who've been indulging in heavy artillery fire in different locations of line of control. But remember, as far as activation is concerned, remember that there is a high alert as far as international border. There's also talk about how there are certain measures being put place, especially in the hinterland. But at this point of time, what we can tell you is the message is loud and clear for those people who are in the vicinity of these particular attacks and explosions should stay inside. What we hear is there are measures, especially the mock drills which were carried out.
What you are seeing around me are the scenes of devastation and destruction. Right now, I am in Rehadi locality of Jammu city. This is not a border village or border town. This is the heart of Jammu city, and look at what has happened here. Early this morning at around 5:40 a.m. there was a loud explosion here. We spoke to the local MLA here a short while ago. He claimed that a mortar shell landed here in this residential locality. But see the extent of damage that has taken place. The first floor of this house has been completely damaged, and look at also at the vehicles around this house. Totally shattered, glass is scattered all around this place, and on the road, look at this. the debris, the rubble is here. So Pakistan is targeting innocent people of Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan is targeting non-combatants. Chief Minister Umar Abdullah has just arrived at this locality. He is right now inside this house. He is speaking to the residents of this house. He is assessing the damage that has taken place, and a large number of people have also assembled here. There was chaos and panic in this locality early this morning at around 5:40 a.m. where we are being told that 3 people have been injured in this explosion in Rehadi locality of Jammu city. I am again saying it that this is not a border village or border town. This is the heart of Jammu city, and nobody would have expected that a mortar shell will land here. We spoke to the local MLA here. He is claiming that a mortar shell landed here. But it's a matter of investigation that whether this was an armed drone that, released a bomb here. It's a matter of investigation. But see what Pakistan has done. Pakistan is targeting non-combatants, innocent people of Jammu and Kashmir. They are in the line of fire here. The people of Jammu and Kashmir, they are facing the brunt of Pakistani shelling and firing. In entire Jammu city, people were in panic. Look at the extent of damage. The debris, the rubble is lying over here. Houses have been damaged. I am reiterating, this is not a border village. This is the heart of Jammu city, Rehadi locality.
तड़के सुबह से पाकिस्तान की ओर से जो गोलीबारी हुई है वो सब जैसे घायल उन सबको तुरंत अस्पताल में लाया गया है। हालांकि इसमें 4 लोग ऐसे हैं जो बेहद गंभीर रूप से घायल हैं, जिन्हें तुरंत जम्मू रेफर कर दिया गया है। और इन घायलों में दरअसल एक संख्या बच्चे की भी है। अस्पतालों में दरअसल तमाम व्यवस्थाएं एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की ओर से की गई थी, लेकिन जो कार्रवाई भारत की ओर से हुई है और उससे बौखलाए पाकिस्तान ने दरअसल इतनी हैवी आर्टिलरी फायर की है और सीधे सीधे निशाना बनाया है गाँव वालों को, स्थानीय लोगों को। और इन लोगों को यहाँ पर उनका इलाज किया जा रहा है नौशेरा के अस्पताल में। सर, टोटल कितने लोग यहाँ पर लाए गए?
अभी सुबह से लेकर अभी तक 10 आ गए। ठीक है, उसके बाद अभी चल रहा है, उनका इलाज चल रहा है, फर्स्ट एड दे रहे हैं। जैसे भी होगा आगे देखेंगे, हमारे बीएमओ सर अपडेट करते हैं।
सर, बच्चे भी हैं इसमें, महिलाएं भी थी?
हाँ, टोटल 10 पेशेंट आए हमारे पास। उनमें से 4 थोड़े ज्यादा इंजर्ड थे, उनको रेफर किया, बाकी स्टेबल है।
तो आप समझ रहे हैं कि किस तरह से पाकिस्तान की जो शेलिंग हो रही है। इसमें एक स्थानीय जर्नलिस्ट भी बताया जा रहा है जो इंजर्ड हुए।
वो भी इधर ही हैं, बट स्टेबल है, माइनर इंजरीज।
ज्यादातर लोग जो स्टेबल हैं, जो गंभीर रूप से घायल थे, उन्हें जो है जम्मू रेफर कर दिया गया है। बाकी लोग ये लगातार दरअसल पाकिस्तान की वो तस्वीर है कि वो रिहायशी इलाकों को टारगेट कर रहा है, नौशेरा के उन गांवों को टारगेट कर रहा है जहां लोग रहते हैं। तो इनमें एक ही परिवार के 4 लोग थे, वो भी घायल हुए हैं। ये नौशेरा की तस्वीरें हैं यहाँ पर, जहां भी फिलहाल घायलों का इलाज चल रहा है।
It is in response to these attacks on our civilians that then Indian armed forces decided to hit even at the military bases of Pakistan. Rawalpindi, Islamabad. Look at these visuals on your screen. One by one, we'll go to that. Remember that in Jang as well, where this air base that was targeted, and I'll take you through all the details that are coming in on ground. All evidence, not conjecture, not just information coming in from our sources, but evidence. Look at that explosion. This was very significant. Coming in from the Noor Khan Air Base, this is Rawalpindi, which is the seat of Pakistan military. Very close, in fact, to the Pakistan Army headquarters in Rawalpindi. There's a reason it is known as the seat of the military chief. This time, of course, General Asim Munir, who boasted about the two-nation theory. Look at how the locals who have been recording these visuals that are coming to us, and constantly we are developing with the confirmed information that is coming into our systems as well. This is air base of different locations that have been hit, heavy damage inflicted in those areas. This is the Noor Khan Air Base specifically, and I'll tell you more about as and when the details that are coming in. This was through the night. Remember, through the night we are looking at Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, Rafiki Air Base in Shorkot, PF Murid Air Base in Chakwal, and Rahim Yar Khan Air Base later. This is Lahore as well, where explosions were seen. This is Neelam Valley, Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The visual that is on your screen, the terror launch pads were hit in this location. Think of the precision, the strategy that has been put in place. Of course, there will be the military installations to cripple it, to damage it, but the terror launch pads have also been targeted. So the projectile in flight, the details that have come in on this, and we'll continue to bring you updates about different air bases, military bases that have faced massive damage, tripled to a massive extent. It's not just about complete destruction. It's also about ensuring that they will not be able to use, or must I say misuse, to harm us civilians. Hope this at least sets a deterrent. On your screens now, meanwhile, look at that. The frame is set for the joint briefing of the Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Defence. We will be expecting, like we have seen in the past few days possibly, the two women officers, Colonel Sophia Qureshi, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, with Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary, to be addressing this press briefing, but could possibly be joined by other officials too. But this is going to be one awaited press conference. The details, the timeline, the confirmation about the cities that were hit, where exactly the strategic targets. And amid all of this, remember, Pakistan fired a Fatah missile. Fatah 1 missile is what we are told according to our sources. And that was toward a strategic target in western sector. We're not, of course, going to reveal further details on where it was meant to hit. But right in the middle, it was ensured by our air defense systems that that missile was intercepted and then destroyed. It was our air defense systems that is, remember, protecting the nation at a large scale right now. Otherwise, Pakistan clearly wants to inflict the civilian casualties in multiple cities. It did it on day one. It has done it in Pahalgam. It tried to target 15 cities of our border states and possibly will continue to do it. That's the reason that many of our cities are on high alert. If you are part of these border cities, stay cautious, stay safe. There is, of course, no need to panic. But remember, while Indian Armed Forces are on the job, as a citizen, you must also follow all the protocols that have come in as advisories from the administration. I'll soon be joined by my colleagues on the ground as well here in the studio to help you understand, as the press briefing is set to begin, about what will happen in the next few hours. How is going to be the next night? Will this push back Pakistan to a certain extent? But possibly, as observers will tell you, Pakistan, of course, will also have its strategy at play. Indian Armed Forces, Indian government, meanwhile, also looks prepared. The NSA, Ajit Doval, is at 7 LKM right now, briefing Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Part of protocol, part of briefings could continue with the military chief, the CDS as well, like we saw yesterday. But this means, remember, sleepless nights for our military, for our boots on the ground, for especially our Indian Air Force at this juncture. What a remarkable effort and performance by our Indian Armed Forces, especially by the Air Force. And we'll discuss that soon, as I'll be joined by my colleagues in just a short while. But these are images on your screen. Just in case you're waking up right now at 10 a.m. tuning into India Today, what exactly happened? Explosions in Islamabad, Lahore, Rawalpindi, other cities as well, as we await for a press briefing on what exactly happened. Military targets that have been hit. For the latest that's coming in, visuals from the Rafiki Air Base, the air base in Jang as well. Also then Rawalpindi, of course, has been the biggest focus. I'll be joined in the next few minutes with Sandeep Unithan, of course, who helps understand, will put it in perspective. Sandeep, I bring you in here. Tell me about what this morning, or should I say the late night, has been for India as much for Pakistan.
Well, thank you very much. It's a night of unprecedented developments. And in fact, we have seen in the last few days the kind of exchanges that we have not seen possibly since the 1971 war between India and Pakistan. We have seen some unprecedented drone strikes and that missile that was fired, which was intercepted by our air defense systems. And of course, the very unprecedented taking out of Pakistani airfields by the Indian Air Force. Of course, like you mentioned, we are just going to be getting details from that official briefing about what caused India to retaliate and knock out airfields inside Pakistan. These are very, very big movements along the escalation ladder. We will understand from the spokesperson why India took this unprecedented step of attacking airfields, PAF air bases, some of the top frontline Pakistan Air Force air bases in the heart of Pakistan. Pakistan, as you know, has about 40 air bases and airfields. The 3 or 4 that were struck, including the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, are very, very strategic assets for Pakistan as far as its fighter flying, transport aircraft and, airborne early warning systems are concerned. Now, the Noor Khan Air Base, for instance, located in Rawalpindi, I've been there a few years back in part of an official delegation. Okay. And that is primarily, where the Pakistan Air Force houses all its enablers. Now, the enablers are the transport fleet, the airborne early warning and control fleet. The air-to-air refuelers are all parked over there. So it's a very strategic base that enables the Pakistan Air Force to move its fighters around, keep them up in the air, and that's also where they park their eyes in the sky at times. So this is a very, very big signal from India to Pakistan.
Tell me about that, Sandeep. Before we go across to other points coming in, when we talk about the signaling that has gone out with these air bases being targeted, what do you think is India's message here?
Well, I think it's unprecedented in the terms of one nuclear-armed country striking at another country's airfields. It's possibly never been, there have been just about two conflicts between nuclear-armed states. The first one between the Soviet Union and China in the late 1960s, and then you have, of course, the Kargil War of 1999. And this is possibly the third conflict between two nuclear-armed states.
Correct.
And this is now rapidly escalating from just cross-border skirmishes to drone and airstrikes to now airfields being taken out. And we will understand precisely from the government of India why they chose this unprecedented step of escalating.
In just a short while, Sandeep, in just the next few minutes. Please stay on with me. Yes, stay on with me because we have news coming in. Indians, at least one generation, this one generation hasn't seen anything like this, especially since the 1999 Kargil War. I have more details coming in. News from Gujarat. What's happening? It is in Gujarat, another border state, remember. Pakistan military is trying to harm people in border areas of Gujarat. It's in Kutch. We have news reports coming in. Now, Pakistan armed drone blown to bits. They wanted to enter into Indian territory, harm people of the Kutch region. Kutch, remember, is right at the border. Look at this. Shot down and how? We are told. Let's listen in to the sounds coming in from this video. Sandeep, let's try and explain this video. This is Gujarat's Kutch, Pakistan's armed drone blown to bits. We are told that it entered into the Kutch district immediately by the alert forces, was shot down. But this is an incredible visual, possibly for the first time. Before that action, we're looking at the visual.
Absolutely, Pooja. And in fact, what you see there is one of Pakistan's short-range drones, one of their domestically manufactured drones. I think it looks like a Shah-Par drone, which they've made, and incredible visuals there. It appears to have been intercepted, and now Nalia in Gujarat is also the location of one of the Indian Air Force's premier bases in the western sector, and that is possibly Pakistan signaling that it has the ability to target India's bases as well. But, in a span of a few hours, India has gone from just signaling to actually knocking out, cratering Pakistan's air bases. So very, very serious escalation in a matter of hours. Like I said, we will know, Pooja, from the government of India why they chose to take that unprecedented step of striking at the Pakistan Air Force's air bases. And
this also means, Sandeep, isn't it, if you can explain this to us, it's not just about Jammu Kashmir. It's as much about Rajasthan, Barmer, for example. It's as much about Punjab, another border state. It is also about Gujarat. It's the over 3,000-kilometer border we share with Pakistan that Pakistan's military is trying to harm our innocent civilians. I can only imagine the alert presently at the border over this.
Well, Pooja, the border states have been on high alert, the 3 states and 1 union territory all along the international border and, of course, the line of control. They've been on high alert for the past few days. And what Pakistan chose to do in response to Operation Sindoor is to activate this entire international border with those strikes, which we are calling Swift Retort 2.0, whatever they call it. But the thing is that they have shown their intent to target the entire Indian western and northern sectors along the international border, all the way from Jammu and Kashmir right down to Gujarat. That's 3 Indian states, 3 Indian border states and the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. This is Pakistan's signaling, and they've been doing so night after night. And what happened today is unprecedented in the terms of India striking back at their airfield. So this is, this is possibly a conflict that we haven't seen in more than half a century. And, the onus of this...
You are expecting a response, of course, from Pakistan on this as much possibly in the next few hours. We already see it with these drone strikes. But when you use the term unprecedented, What is it that you're comparing it to, Sandeep? 1971, 1999? Why do you think that this possibly is a situation that is historic in so many ways?
I call it unprecedented, Pooja, because in 1971, neither India nor Pakistan were nuclear armed. It was a fully, they were both conventionally armed, and that was the last large-scale conventional war that was fought between India and Pakistan. In 1999, the conflict, it was a border conflict, it was localized to Jammu and Kashmir, that was confined to a few hundred kilometers of the line of control. That was a few months after both India and Pakistan tested nuclear weapons and became overt nuclear weapon powers. Now, that is also precisely the reason that the Pakistan military chose to embark on that adventurism in Kargil. They thought that the nuclear arms on both sides would deter India from conventionally responding. And to an extent, they might have been right, because ever since Kargil, if you see, Pooja, there has been 25 years of very grave provocations, starting from Kargil to Parliament in 2001. Then you have the Mumbai terror attacks of 26/11, and then a string of other terror attacks culminating in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April. And that emboldened the Pakistan military. When you have a quarter century of no major Indian conventional response, the Pakistan military was emboldened, and they believed that their nuclear weapons had not only protected Pakistan and its military, but would now protect their non-state actors, these terrorists that they have been rearing for a quarter century. Those assets would also be protected.
I completely agree to that, and that's what I've been maintaining, that I understand that most people would think this is a response to Pahalgam massacre, but to me it's as much a response to the 1990s Kashmir, to the terrorism inflicted in the valley, to as latest as the Riyasi, Rajouri terror attacks in which children were shot dead at point-blank range, and then of course Pahalgam, and when you're talking about 26/11, Parliament attack, Pathankot attack, Uri, Balagh, all of this in many ways, I think it touched the patience of a common Indian as much of the leadership. Sandeep, as we wait for further details, tell me about the strategy at play here. When you decide to go ahead as a country with regard to the air bases, heavy damage that has been inflicted after the terror hideouts, why do you think India decided to take that step, even though I would say still restrained, considering how they continue to target our civilians?
Well, this is signaling, Pooja. You know, the fact is that if you look at Foreign Secretary Misri's briefings over the last, we've seen 3 briefings so far from the 7th of May onwards. All of the briefings have been very measured in the choice of words and the language that were used. All of those briefings had an inbuilt element of de-escalation, where in the first briefing on the 7th, he very categorically mentioned that this strike was to target Pakistan's terror infrastructure only. We were not targeting civilian areas, and we were certainly not targeting the Pakistan military. Now, in the second briefing, we get to a point when the military installations have been struck as well, in response to what Pakistan did by escalating this conflict all across the international boundary, going from Jammu and Kashmir all the way south to Gujarat. And there also, if you look at it, the Foreign Secretary's briefings have again got that note of de-escalation. So we've always been signaling that we need de-escalation, but the Pakistan military has been unwilling to do so because, you know, like I said, using that word again, unprecedented. Pakistan's Punjab province has never been targeted in the past. And we did that on the 7th of October. We said, on the 7th of May, we said we are not going to be deterred by the fact that your biggest terror headquarters are located in the heart of Punjab province. We will strike them wherever they are. Names like Murid Ke, Murid Ke and Bahawalpur, where the Jaish headquarters is located. My hair has gone grey, Pooja, listening to these names for 25 years. And the helplessness with which our establishment, listed these names every time a terror attack was, described. Where all the, the terror kingpins were all sitting in all of these bases protected. Very happy, this guy runs his outfit in the south southern Punjab, that's Masood Azhar, and you have Murid K, the headquarters of the
allegedly banned organization, must we add here, for Pakistan as much for the government, but we knew how operational and fully functional, supported by the Pakistan military.
Banned organizations, international terrorists roaming around with the state, with the support of the Pakistan military. They're extensions of the Pakistan and Pakistan military. And what we saw in the last couple of days, this unprecedented photograph again of the Pakistan army literally conducting a state funeral for a terrorist at his funeral, and his coffin is draped in a national flag of Pakistan with and given something like a guard of honor, a military guard of honor. This actually blows this whole facade that the Pakistan army has carefully cultivated over
Sandeep,
4 decades.
Yet the International Monetary Fund decides to go ahead and send a bailout package to a country like Pakistan, even though India is raising objections, reminding IMF and the world that the same funding could be misused. There is no transparency and accountability. As we wait for this press conference to begin in just a short while on your screens, and Sandeep, I would request you to please help understand, put it in perspective, the kind of air bases attacked and the strategic targets that India has gone after, because I can't help but think but how Pakistan wanted to inflict harm. So it's a matter of pride of how India's defense systems are protecting us, but Indian armed forces ensuring that their Chinese-made military hardware also is exposed.
Absolutely, and in fact, the first base that was struck, Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, that is literally, as you know, Rawalpindi is the headquarters of General Headquarters Pakistan Army. It is where the real power in Pakistan resides. That is where all the generals are. This is from where they fly out. They have their VIP transports parked over there in that airbase in Rawalpindi. It's named after the second chief of the Pakistan Air Force, Air Marshal Noor Khan. That airbase, it also has allied airfield airbase, the Benazir Bhutto International Airport, which is now believed to be defunct. But Rawalpindi, this is the second time that India has struck at Rawalpindi. The first was in broad daylight on the 7th of May, where we have indicated that we have the capacity and the capability to strike at the Pakistan military. That was signaling to General Headquarters Rawalpindi. And this is the second signal where you have struck at one of their premier air bases, the Noor Khan Air Base, which is literally where all the enablers of the Pakistan Air Force are parked. That's where all their flight refuelers, the IL-78 tankers that they bought several years ago. These tankers are they are literally the fuel tanks in the sky. They're the petrol stations in the sky for its entire fleet of JF-17s, J-10s. All of their fighter aircraft are fueled up by those IL-78 tankers that are parked there, right there in the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. And then if you look at it, the choice of targets again, all of them in Pakistan's Punjab, the Rafiqi Air Base in Jhang, Pakistan. But the biggest one, of course, is that base.
Sandeep, I'll interrupt you here. Vikram Misri, Foreign Secretary, taken to his seat, of course, with Colonel Sofia Qureshi, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh. The trio again back for one of the most awaited press conference. Let's begin.
Press briefing by Foreign Secretary Shri Vikram Misri on the ongoing developments around Operation Sindoor. We are also joined by Colonel Sofia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh for this briefing. With that, sir, the floor is over to you.
Thank you. Indeed, good morning. Namaskar. Sorry to keep you all waiting. जैसा कि हम पिछले 2-3 प्रेस ब्रीफिंग्स में भी बता चुके हैं, ये पाकिस्तानी गतिविधियां हैं पिछले 2-3 दिन से जो एक एस्केलेटरी तौर पे देखी जा रही हैं और प्रोवोकेटिव तौर पे देखी जा रही हैं. I've said on numerous earlier occasions, it is Pakistani actions that have constituted provocation and escalation. In response, and I repeat, in response, India has defended and reacted in a responsible and measured fashion to these provocations and these escalations by the Pakistani side. Earlier this morning, we saw a repeat of this escalatory and provocative pattern And I'll invite Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh to update you on the developments since early this morning. Colonel Qureshi.
थैंक यू सर। नमस्कार। पाकिस्तान सेना ने पूरी पश्चिम मोर्चे पर लगातार आक्रामक गतिविधियां जारी रखी। उसमें यूकैव ड्रोन, लॉन्ग रेंज वेपन्स, लॉइटरिंग म्यूनिशंस और लड़ाकू विमानों का उपयोग कर भारतीय सैन्य ढांचे को निशाना बनाया। नियंत्रण रेखा पर भी ड्रोन घुसपैठ और भारी कैलिबर हथियारों से गोलाबारी की। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा और एलओसी पर श्रीनगर से नलिया तक 26 से अधिक स्थानों पर हवाई घुसपैठ के प्रयास किए गए। भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने अधिकांश खतरों को सफलतापूर्वक निष्क्रिय किया। फिर भी वायु सेना स्टेशनों पर उधमपुर, पठानकोट, आदमपुर और भुज बठिंडा स्टेशन, इन सब पर उपकरण व पर्सनल्स को हानि पहुंचाई। मैं ये भी बताना चाहती हूँ कि पाकिस्तान ने हाई स्पीड मिसाइल सुबह 1:40 पर इस्तेमाल करके पंजाब के एयरबेस स्टेशन को दागने की कोशिश की। एक निंदनीय और अनप्रोफेशनल एक्ट के तहत पाकिस्तान ने श्रीनगर, अवंतीपुर और उधमपुर के वायु सेना अड्डों पर चिकित्सा केंद्र और स्कूल परिसर को निशाना भी बनाया, जिससे उसके द्वारा सिविल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर हमला करने की गैर जिम्मेदाराना प्रवृत्ति फिर उजागर हुई। पाकिस्तान द्वारा सैन्य ठिकानों को जानबूझकर निशाना बनाने के पश्चात भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने त्वरित व सुनियोजित जवाबी हमले किए। टेक्निकल इंस्टॉलेशन, कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर्स, रडार साइट्स और हथियार भंडार को चुनकर निशाना बनाया गया। रफीकी, मुरीद, चकलाला, रहमियार खान, सुकूर और चुनिया स्थित पाक सैन्य ठिकानों पर एयर लॉन्च सटीक हथियारों व लड़ाकू जेट से प्रहार किए गए। पसूर स्थित रडार साइट और सियालकोट का एविएशन बेस भी प्रिसीजन एम्यूनिशन से टारगेट किए गए। इन कार्रवाइयों के दौरान भारत ने कम से कम कोलैटरल डैमेज की क्षति सुनिश्चित की। चिंता का विषय यह रहा कि पाकिस्तान ने लाहौर से उड़ान भरने वाले नागरिक विमानों की आड़ लेकर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हवाई मार्गों का दुरुपयोग किया ताकि वे अपनी गतिविधियां छिपा सके। ऐसी चालों ने भारतीय वायु प्रतिरक्षा तंत्र को नागरिक सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करते हुए अत्यधिक संयम के साथ कार्य करने के लिए विवश किया। साथ ही साथ पाकिस्तान ने मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन का सहारा लेते हुए आदमपुर स्थित S-400 प्रणाली, सूरतगढ़ व सिरसा के हवाई अड्डों, नगरोटा के ब्रह्मोस बेस, देहरागिरी के तोपखाना पोजीशन तथा चंडीगढ़ के अग्रिम गोला बारूद डिपो को नष्ट करने के झूठे दावे सोशल मीडिया पर फैलाए। भारत इन फॉल्स नैरेटिव्स को पूर्णतः खारिज करता है। नियंत्रण रेखा पर पाकिस्तान ने ड्रोन घुसपैठ और भारी तोपखाना गोलाबारी के कई प्रयास किए। कुपवाड़ा, बारामूला, पुंछ, राजौरी और अखनूर सेक्टर्स में तोप, मोर्टार एवं हल्के हथियारों से भीषण गोलाबारी जारी रही। भारतीय सेना ने प्रभावी व तुलनात्मक प्रत्युत्तर देते हुए पाक सेना को काफी क्षति पहुंचाई। पाकिस्तान सेना के अग्रिम क्षेत्रों में सैनिकों की डिप्लॉयमेंट बढ़ती दिख रही है, जो स्थिति को और भड़काने की मंशा दर्शाती है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल पूर्ण परिचालन तत्परता की स्थिति में है। अभी तक सभी शत्रुतापूर्ण कार्रवाइयों का प्रभावी ढंग से सामना कर उपयुक्त जवाब दिया गया है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल दोहराते हैं कि वे तनाव वृद्धि नहीं चाहते, बशर्ते पाकिस्तान भी ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे। आखिर में आपको कुछ वीडियो दिखाना चाहती हूँ जहां पर इंडियन आर्मी के वेपन्स एलओसी पर पाक के एसेट्स को ध्वस्त करते नजर आ रहे हैं। देख सकते हैं इस वीडियो को। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
Pakistan military continued with its provocations, carrying out aggressive actions employing multiple threat vectors all along the western border. Pakistan employed UCAV, drones, long-range weapons, loitering munitions and fighter aircrafts to target civilian areas and military infrastructure. Pakistan military also resorted to air intrusions using drones and firing of heavy caliber weapons along the line of control. Along the international border and the line of control, air intrusion and several harassment attacks were also attempted from Srinagar till Nalia at more than 26 locations. Indian Armed Forces successfully neutralized these threats and majority of the vectors. However, limited damage was sustained to equipment and personnel at Indian Air Force stations at Udhampur, Pathankot, Adampur and Bhuj. There were also several high-speed missile attacks noticed subsequently after 0140 hours in the night at several air bases in Punjab. In a deplorable cowardly act, targeting of civilian infrastructure also had taken place, where Pakistan attacked the Medicare Center and school premises at the air bases of Srinagar, Avantipur and Udhampur, yet again displaying irresponsible targeting of our civilian infrastructure. In a swift and calibrated response, Indian Armed Forces carried out precision attacks only on identified military targets. These included technical infrastructure, command and control centers, radar sites and weapon storage areas. Pakistan military targets at Rafiqi, Murid, Chaklala, Rahim Yar Khan, Sukur and Chunya were engaged using air-launched precision weapons from our fighter aircraft. Radar sites at Pasroor and Sialkot Aviation Base were also targeted using precision munitions. While carrying out these responses, India ensured minimum collateral damage. Pakistan has also attempted to execute a continued malicious misinformation campaign with claims of destruction of Indian S-400 system at Adampur, destruction of airfields at Suratgarh and Sirsa, BrahMos base at Nagrota, RT gun positions at Derangyari and Chandigarh forward ammunition depot, with heavy damages to other military stations being propagated on social media. India unequivocally rejects these false narratives being spread by Pakistan. Along the line of control also, Pakistan has attempted multiple air intrusions using drones and conducted shelling using heavy caliber RT guns, targeting civilian infrastructure and killing some civilians. Heavy exchange of artillery mortars and small arms fire in Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri and Aknoor sectors continued. Indian Army has responded effectively and proportionately, causing extensive damage to Pakistan Army. Pak military has been observed to be moving their troops into forward areas, indicating offensive intent to further escalate the situation. Indian Armed Forces remain in a high state of operational readiness. All hostile actions have been effectively countered and responded appropriately. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is reciprocated by the Pakistan military. At the end, I would also like to show you a few images of Air Force bases in the Punjab sector and Rajasthan sector, where it is mighty clear that we are debunking the Pakistani claims of causing destruction at these air bases. You can yourself see the normalcy in these air force stations. This is Sirsa, Suratgarh. The runways are intact. There are also time stamps, just notice, they are also time stamped. This is today. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel Qureshi. Thank you, Wing Commander Singh. I just have a few points to make in closing. First of all, as you have seen, Pakistani claims about activities that they have undertaken continue to be heavy on lies, misinformation, and propaganda. And on top of that, this is peddled by Pakistani state agencies. The claims that they have made about attacking and destroying various places, various military installations and facilities, as has been pointed out by my colleagues here this morning, are completely false. The claim about the Air Force station in Sirsa being destroyed, completely false, as you've seen. The claim about the Air Force station in Suratgarh being destroyed, completely false again, as you have seen. There's a claim that has been made that the S-400 base at Adampur was destroyed, completely false, once again. Claims have been made about large sections of Indian critical infrastructure, power systems, cyber systems, etc., being attacked and destroyed, completely false. I would urge all of you and all those who watch this not to be misled by this tissue of lies that is being peddled by the Pakistani state for obvious purposes. The second point that I wanted to emphasize is that Pakistan continues with its execrable and wanton campaign of targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure, especially in the states of Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. There is also on its part a consistent attempt to sow discord between communities in India. As I said, there has been a particular focus in its targeting of civilian infrastructure and the population in Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. Earlier this morning, Pakistan shelled the town of Rajouri, killing the additional District Development Commissioner, Sri Rajkumar Thappa, adding to the civilian casualties and the damage in that state. We have also observed overnight damage to property and injuries to civilians in Firozpur and Jalandhar, among other places. Finally, as I said, Pakistani officials also continue to make ludicrous claims about India firing missiles towards Sri Amritsar Sahib. As I said, these lame attempts to divide India are doomed to failure. We have also seen in some of the remarks that have been shown on television that the Pakistani army spokesman seems to take great joy at the fact that the Indian public should criticize the government of India with regard to various issues. It may be a surprise to Pakistan to see citizens criticizing their own government. That is the hallmark of an open and functioning democracy. Pakistan's unfamiliarity with that, again, should not be surprising. And finally, there is this yet again completely ludicrous claim that Indian missiles have hit Afghanistan. Totally frivolous allegation, and I only want to point out that Afghan people don't need to be reminded about which country it is that has on multiple occasions in just the last 1.5 years targeted civilian populations and civilian infrastructure in Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, as you would have gathered from this morning's briefing, we are dealing with an evolving situation. Accordingly, today we don't have the time to take questions, but we will continue to update you on this situation as we go along. Thank you all very much for joining us this morning.
All right, this makes it all clear. Remember, at a juncture, and understandable what Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri is saying, it's still a developing situation, but a lot of it has been put in perspective. A lot of questions, I understand. What happened through the night? Why and which bases were attacked? 1:40 a.m. when it started. Pakistan decided to use their missiles to attack India. our strategic targets, our military installations, our civilians were targeted. That is when India decided it's time to hit back, and it didn't. How? It decided to intercept Pakistani missiles, protected our civilians, our military installations, but hit where it hurts for Pakistan. Sandeep Unithan joins me on this. Sandeep, I like the final points also that were made by the Foreign Secretary. A national mention internally, how Indians have ensured that the communal discord does not happen, but also against Pakistan thwarting their propagandas. And third, bringing in even Afghanistan, saying what sort of these false allegations are going with regard to Afghanistan. They don't need to be reminded what Pakistan truly is about. Let's begin with the first point. 1:40 a.m. when it all started. Sandeep.
Absolutely, Pooja, and this is what the entire sequence of events over the past 10 or 12 hours have been made clear by the Foreign Secretary in his briefing, where he began by saying that Pakistan's moves were escalatory and provocative.
Yes.
And India's response was in a counter to this provocation and this escalation. Very, very clear cause and effect being made there by the Foreign Secretary in his statement. And the most important takeaway for me, Pooja, is that Colonel Sophia Qureshi mentioned that Pakistan had fired a high-speed missile at us, which was intercepted and downed in Sirsa. That is very, very, very significant. The fact that Pakistan chose to fire a high-speed missile, possibly a ballistic missile, that signals a dangerous escalation that, like we were just talking before the briefing. And Pakistan is embarked on a very reckless path of escalation. And in response to the attacks that they launched last night, the Indian Air Force has launched strikes against Pakistan's air bases, radar sites.
And Sandeep, how they targeted us, just to put it in perspective with these continued provocations, the UCAP, drones, fighters, and to hit who? Our civilians.
Civilians. They targeted civilian infrastructure. That is the important takeaway, that the fact that this pattern of weapons that was used, UCAVs, drones, fighter aircraft, there was air intrusions as well, but primarily targeting our civilian infrastructure and some of our military assets as well. In response to that, India launched our air attacks against Pakistan. We looked at targeting their technical infrastructure, their command and control centers, their radar sites, and most importantly, their weapon storage sites. Rafiki, Murid, Chaklala, Pasrur, Sialkot, air bases across the length and breadth of Pakistan. Very, very, specific areas that they have targeted. So what you're looking at is not even about airfield destruction, but the destruction of technical assets, infrastructure, radars, command and control sites, weapon storage sites. Important to note here, Pooja, is that no aircraft were targeted. This is really important. They have only targeted airfield, command and control sites, radar sites, weapon storage sites, but they have very clearly mentioned we did not target parked aircraft either in the air or on the ground. So this is an important distinction to be made over here. The fact is that all of this, has been Pakistan Air Force's technical infrastructure that's been targeted. And Pooja, you'd note how swiftly the war has escalated from being one on the ground, which is the exchange of small arms fire and artillery fire along the line of control, to a war against the
And to
Pakistan
that as well,
Air
Sandeep,
Force.
to that as well, I want to add here, when the press briefing, it was made very clear, Pakistan military is attempting offensive attempts. There are reports that they're moving troops. And that also is reflective of how Pakistan intends to provoke India even more. Sandeep, stay on with me. Civilian airspace of Pakistan was being misused when they were firing drones and missiles at India. They were using their civilian airspace as a shield. Think of the kind of designs that Pakistan had. They wanted their own civilians to be harmed. And at this juncture, we're also told, Shivani Sharma, I bring you in here. Sandeep, please stay on with me. The attempt was to hit the Punjab air base. That is what Pakistan wanted to do, but our air defense systems ensured that just in time, we could intercept the missiles, whether it was on one side, the Fatah missile or other drone attacks, and save our air bases.
Pooja, all the details have been brought out now while the press briefing was on by Wing Commander Vyomika and Colonel Qureshi along with the Foreign Secretary, and they've very clearly brought out the whole operation that has been going on since last night, where Pakistan tried to attempt and hit one of our very important strategic bases in Punjab. That attack has already been thwarted. That's what has been confirmed. And 6 air bases, a very important point we were discussing since morning, that 6, the 4 air bases we had the confirmation about, but what the confirmation has been brought out after this press conference is that there are 6 strategic air bases that have been inflicted with damage. They were selected as the important military structures that were being used for action against India. So Indian armed forces are on a high operational alert, preparedness, and we also heard, Pooja, how it was also indicated that beyond the drone attacks, beyond the missile attacks and the ceasefire violation along the line of control, Pakistan is now trying to move its infantry towards the international border. So that is also a very important point, that Pakistan is now opening up and escalating on all fronts, while India has been saying that we do not want any escalation, but we are thwarting all attempts. So all in all, what we see that Pakistan is using its dirty tricks by not closing the airspace while these air raids were on, while these drone attacks were on. They want to use it as a shield because India doesn't want to harm civilians. And all across the western sector, be it the Baramulla area where we are present, there also through the night there were drone attacks. These drones were coming from all sides, Pooja, from the line of control side, from the western border in Punjab, where we've been reporting these reminiscences of these thwarted drones of Pakistan. So now, once again, India has given out that we are ready for any kind of action.
And Baramulla is not a sensitive location.
And if Pakistan intends to...
Yes, so there were deliberate attempts to target Avantipura, a very sensitive base, also Srinagar. Sandeep, stay on with me. Also, our Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan is joining me. Geeta, the key takeaways from this press conference. I also found it interesting how the press briefing was an opportunity to debunk Pakistan's propaganda, especially the kind of agenda they are trying to peddle to say Indian missile hit Afghanistan. To which Foreign Secretary said Afghanistan doesn't need to be reminded what Pakistan's terrorism really is about.
Absolutely. Debunking one claim after the other, not just with words but with visuals. There was proof that was given and shown to us on how Pakistan has been lying about India's Air Force stations. Pakistan has suffered heavy damages for what it has done, and this was just a response to that. But the Indian side over here very clearly putting out one by one all the Pakistani lies and debunking those lies by saying that there has been no infrastructure loss in India's critical areas or critical infrastructure. They named S-400 Triumph air defense system. They named the critical infrastructure and Air Force stations, BrahMos, and they said that these are claims that were being made by Pakistan. India very clearly and unequivocally rejects all those claims. Beyond that, these were just technical issues that India needed to put forth in terms of the lies that Pakistan has been putting forth since last evening. But also more importantly, Pooja, the fact that Pakistan has now increased or widened its ambit by not just talking about India, but and the border areas and its own country, but involving Afghanistan. And like you rightly said, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri very clearly has reminded Pakistan and Afghanistan to know exactly where terrorism and the terror factories lie, and the situation in Afghanistan has not been very conducive, so to say, at the border areas because of Pakistan and not because of India. India has been playing a very constructive and a positive role in Afghanistan, engaging the new administration or the new regime as well, because it was more important for India to engage Afghanistan. So all those lies that were that Pakistan was telling not just the media, they are going not just engaging the media, Pooja. There was a 1.5-hour briefing yesterday by the DGISPR, and he'd put out photos, screenshots of journalists in India, so on and so forth. So an hour and a half by DGISPR, ministers sitting in international channels and lying
and
about what
exposing
has
themselves,
happened
Geeta,
or what is happening.
I would say, because what do? They cannot accept their losses. India has been extremely honest with regard to whatever is happening, whether it's in the border areas or with regard to these strikes. Stay on with me, Geeta, please, because Sandeep, I take that question to you. With the details that are coming in, stay on with me, because let's just play out first excerpts from this press conference. What did Colonel Sophia Qureshi, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said in this clearly one of the most awaited press briefings of the past few days?
नियंत्रण रेखा पर पाकिस्तान ने ड्रोन घुसपैठ और भारी तोपखाना गोलाबारी के कई प्रयास किए। कुपवाड़ा, बारामूला, पुंछ, राजौरी और अखनूर सेक्टर्स में तोप, मोर्टार एवं हल्के हथियारों से भीषण गोलाबारी जारी रही। भारतीय सेना ने प्रभावी व तुलनात्मक प्रत्युत्तर देते हुए पाक सेना को काफी क्षति पहुंचाई। पाकिस्तान सेना के अग्रिम क्षेत्रों में सैनिकों की डिप्लॉयमेंट बढ़ती दिख रही है, जो स्थिति को और भड़काने की मंशा दर्शाती है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल पूर्ण परिचालन तत्परता की स्थिति में है। अभी तक सभी शत्रुतापूर्ण कार्रवाइयों का प्रभावी ढंग से सामना कर उपयुक्त जवाब दिया गया है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल दोहराते हैं कि वे तनाव वृद्धि नहीं चाहते, बशर्ते पाकिस्तान भी ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे।
Along the line of control also, Pakistan has attempted multiple air intrusions using drones and conducted shelling using heavy caliber RT guns, targeting civilian infrastructure and killing some civilians. Heavy exchange of artillery mortars and small arms fire in Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri and Akhnur sectors continued. Indian Army has responded effectively and proportionately, causing extensive damage to Pakistan Army. Pak military has been observed to be moving their troops into forward areas, indicating offensive intent to further escalate the situation. Indian armed forces remain in a high state of operational readiness. All hostile actions have been effectively countered and responded appropriately. Indian armed forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is reciprocated by the Pakistan military. Pakistan has also attempted to execute a continued malicious misinformation campaign with claims of destruction of Indian S-400 system at Adampur, destruction of airfields at Suratgarh and Sirsa, BrahMos base at Nagrota. India unequivocally rejects these false narratives being spread by Pakistan.
Rejecting the false propagandas, dismissing all these allegations that Pakistan deliberately trying to put forth and to divert. Geeta Mohan and Sandeep Unitin continue to be with us. Sandeep, let's discuss the timeline. 1:40 a.m. as mentioned in the press briefing that Pakistan decided to strike at our civilian targets, at our military installations, and then the response that came from India.
Well, Pooja, you know, this 1:40 a.m. airstrikes by Pakistan across the western border were preceded by a series of drone intrusions.
Yes.
If you noticed last night, we were discussing this exactly what we and our experts were talking about, how these drones attacks, these drone incursions were likely the precursor to a major Pakistan Air Force strike. And this is exactly what seems to have happened. When the drones were sent in to illuminate our radars, to identify where the air bases are and look for, chinks in our armor, in our air defense network, through which they could penetrate, possibly send in fighter aircraft, target our installations. And this is what seems to have played out from 1:40 a.m. as the spokespersons were informing us. And based on this, India responded by striking these 6 strategic air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. And it is very likely that the choice of these targets, these 6 air bases that were selected, had to do something with the kind of support that they had given this PAF attack that unfolded late last night and early in the morning. It is quite possible that the Indian Air Force would have identified these air bases as being the launch pads of these fighter aircraft that came across and decided to strike across into those air bases, striking at all of their technical infrastructure, their ammunition sites, command and control positions and weapon storage depots and the like. So sending out a very strong message. And what is remarkable here, Pooja, to note is that how swiftly we have responded.
Exactly.
From several hours, it has now come down to a matter of minutes now. It is quite possible that this kind of response was possible only because the Air Force was looking at the Pakistan Air Force very closely. They monitored the aircraft, where they took off from, where they, grouped up in the sky, and where they launched, where they headed out, and then targeted the bases from where these fighter aircraft took off. These 6 strategic air bases, it's no accident. The choice of these air bases is not accidental. It has to do with where the PAF launched their fighter aircraft.
So you believe that the air bases in Pakistan that were struck were not because we had the coordinates already, but because it was in response to the missiles that were fired, whether it was the Fatah missile or other attacks that were fired, possibly from these 6 air bases?
It has a very high likelihood of that having happened because the PAF has dozens of other, there are almost a total of 40 air bases and airfields, but these 6 strategic air bases were chosen to send out a message that, if you attack us, we will strike you back home, and we know where your aircraft are, where they flew, where they took off from, and this is to attack them in their point of origin. So that's a very important message that's come out over there.
This is fantastic coordination, the synergy that I can only imagine that happened at multiple levels. Geeta, I bring you in here. Tell me about how is the Pakistan establishment, the ministers, the DGIs who have been responding and trying to push forth a certain propaganda. And how do you look at the Indian communication strategy? I believe that in the past few years, we hadn't seen an India which was putting forth its view in this manner, not only about defense or offense, but also debunking the propagandas of Pakistan, which I see now happening in these press conferences.
Well, Pooja, I couldn't hear you very clearly, but if the question is to me and on
tell us about what you're picking up
propaganda.
from how the Pakistan establishment has been responding, like you're telling us about trying to share their propagandas. I can only see them getting exposed with the evidence that's coming in, and how Indian government and the MOD as much are debunking that propaganda, putting forth a communication strategy.
Well, let me begin by saying a few things that Pakistan has been doing. And then we'll talk about how India is dispelling and debunking those claims. Look at what Pakistan's premier, the Pakistani Prime Minister, has done. Apart from the fact that he's spewing lies and talking about things that they've done to India, which is not true. He's also now, there is some nuclear saber rattling that you'd be seeing with Pakistan Prime Minister. There are reports that Pakistan Prime Minister has called for a meeting of body that oversees nuclear arsenal. Now this, again, is a messaging to India and the world that they are looking at and they're overseeing the nuclear arsenal. Whether they're going to use it or not is a different matter altogether. But the fact that they are looking at it, that the Prime Minister has called for a meeting to oversee the nuclear arsenal in itself is messaging of sorts. Khwaja Asif, not just in Parliament, in interviews, has said that they've given a befitting reply to India. Secondly, that they're going to do all it takes. And thirdly, he's already almost declared it a war. He said it in so many words that this now is an open war between India and Pakistan. And sadly, he says that we'll do all we can, even if we have to send our children to the front. No qualms there in what he's saying, and I don't know whether they listen to themselves when they're talking and addressing the nation. The information minister has gone on various news channels, international and Pakistani, and has one by one said things about the operations that took place, Pakistan's aggressive behavior and aggression, where he said that nothing of that sort has happened. Again, India one by one taking all those questions, barring the nuclear arsenal bit, because that's a news that's just come in, has broken all of that down and said that not only have they not been able to penetrate and destroy India's critical infrastructure, that Pakistan has been violative of all norms in terms of one lying and then sending drones across. These are not things that one can deny. I do not understand how we have visual proof and yet denial coming from Pakistan.
But
So
that's what Pakistan has always
it is
done.
an open front
They've
now.
lived on denial and they've expected the world to believe, and that perhaps is getting exposed this time as much. I appreciate you joining us. Geeta, stay on with me. Sandeep, from the press conference, the words that we have to pick on. They tried attacking the Punjab Air Base. They tried attacking a school in Avantipura, if I heard it correct. They did attack a civilian structure in Rajouri, where 2 children also appear to have lost their life. Again, it was a convent facility. Even in Avantipura, they're targeting civilian infrastructure where there could be children, there could be women, and Punjab Air Base being targeted. And of course, I mean, that was not successful.
Pooja, not surprising at all. If you heard the briefing yesterday, where they clearly mentioned the fact that they had targeted a convent in Poonch, where they had killed 2 children over there. Over the last couple of days, they've been targeting gurdwaras, they've been targeting temples, they've been targeting convents. You know, you're dealing with a military that cares very little for the lives of its own citizens. What to speak of Indians across the border? They have been proceeding with alarming disregard, callous disregard for civilian lives. All that matters is the survival of the Pakistan military and its, face in this conflict. And all of these measures that we've heard are essentially about protecting the image of the Pakistan military. It stands shattered, it stands cracked over the last couple of days. These strikes, these retaliatory strikes by us into Pakistan's Punjab province, targeting their military assets, targeting their air force assets, have exposed the fact that the Pakistan military is actually protecting terrorist infrastructure in Punjab, Pooja. That's one of the biggest takeaways over the last couple of days. We've seen that being revealed time and again. This has been called out by several people. It's all been out in the open. For the longest time, the Pakistan military has employed a strategy of deniability. They would deny any association with these terrorist groups and, of course, the terror acts that they committed. But today, this week, we have seen that facade of deniability being ripped apart.
Landing up at the funeral of terrorists.
Landing up at the funeral of terrorists, protecting terrorist infrastructure, retaliating for attacks on terrorist infrastructure by targeting our civilian infrastructure and our military air bases. The facade of the Pakistan military stands exposed, Pooja.
Good that it is all on evidence, it is all with visuals, and that's how India is speaking this time. Geeta, if you can still hear me, I want to talk about the mention that was made in the press briefing, how Pakistan used its own civilian airspace as a shield while they were firing drones and missiles towards our border states. For some strange reason, now of course we understand the reason for it, they had their civilian airspace running. They were using their own people as shield, expecting India to hit and strike at them. Geeta, I'll come back to you in just a short while. Sandeep, do you want to take that question? Because now, of course, we know that from Sialkot, Lahore, Islamabad, the civilian airspace has been shut, at least for the next few hours. But do you also see that as an attempt, using your own civilian airspace as a possible shield? And incredible work then by Indian Armed Forces to not react in haste, but to ensure that we had precision strikes at their air bases.
Pooja, this is an extension of the Pakistan military's irresponsible actions, their reckless behavior, their utter disregard for civilian lives, whether it's on Indian soil or in Pakistani soil. Keeping your airspace open signifies that you're willing to risk commercial aircraft filled with passengers, bringing them into the line of fire. Of course, several airliners, we are told, have now steered clear of Pakistani airspace. France is believed to have issued a general notification asking all its airliners to stay clear of certain sectors in Pakistani airspace until the end of this month. So these are the kind of restrictions that civilian airliners have been placing on their own carriers. But what does it tell you about the Pakistan state, the Pakistan military, where it's allowing these civilian airliners to fly because it provides a shield for their own activities against India? Utter callous disregard for civilian lives.
That's actually the reality of Pakistan, all coming now on evidence, on visuals. Geeta, if you can hear me, I want to take another question. This is on the sidelines of the press conference. Amid all of this, where clearly you can see what Pakistan is doing to India and to possibly its own civilians, we have the IMF sending out a bailout package for a country, while India is raising the objection that this funding can be misused for terror funding and more. Tell us about that as well. A lot is happening on that front too.
Well, the fact is that the IMF process, and they were going into that bailout, seeking that bailout yet again. This is the second tranche, Pooja. And a very important question, why is it that IMF disbursed the money despite what's happening on the India-Pakistan front, despite India providing all the information and details? And look at the 25 executive members representing over 190 countries. The countries themselves know that Pakistan is involved in, and there are questions about the money that is sent to Pakistan, whether if they use it for the right purposes or not. But the difference this time around is that it's been a long process where the IMF has been rather strict with Pakistan.
Okay.
They have put in various conditions on how the money is going to be used, on what conditions will the money be disbursed, which includes having no subsidies, reducing the subsidy substantially on electricity, so on and so forth. Only after Pakistan complied with all those was there an agreement. Also look at the larger picture over here, Pooja. While we might think it's a huge win for Pakistan, the only country that abstained was India. But the fact of the matter is that the military aspect aside, Pakistan is a failing economy. Would the region benefit or the world benefit from a failed Pakistani state that has nuclear arsenal? Does it benefit anyone to have a failed state with nuclear arsenal? It doesn't, especially if it is economic destruction of a country where people are going to suffer. I suppose there was a lot that was taken into consideration. India very plainly saying that should you decide to give money, you should at least know where the money is going. Accountability is important. It is not important that, you know, whether you're helping the country or not, because you need to help people of a country. But it's about accountability. So our objection, India's objection, was on the fact that there has been no accountability. This is the sixth time, second tranche of the 2 billion, 1 billion already being given. And are they going to be held accountable for the money or not? That's the big question that they're asking.
Accountability and
people,
transparency that we hope, yes, that will come with regard to Pakistan IMF bailout package. Geeta, requesting you to please stay on. Listen in now to that exact mention from the press conference of the Ministry of Defence and the External Affairs Ministry. 1:40 a.m. when most of us were fast asleep, possibly. That's when Pakistan hit our civilian and military targets, but they were unsuccessful because of our alert armed forces. That mention specific coming up.
There were also several high-speed missile attacks noticed subsequently after 0140 hours in the night at several air bases in Punjab. In a deplorable cowardly act, targeting of civilian infrastructure also had taken place, where Pakistan attacked the Medicare Center and school premises at the air bases of Srinagar, Avantipur and Udhampur, yet again displaying irresponsible targeting of our civilian infrastructure. In a swift and calibrated response, Indian Armed Forces carried out precision attacks only on identified military targets.
And the images that you see on your screen, it were also put out in the press conference to help debunk Pakistan propaganda saying India has suffered heavy damages, our air bases are running just fine. Now, look at this image on your screen. What are the cities, the air bases that have been on India's target? And we have successfully managed to inflict damage on most of these. Chaklala, Minhas Kamra, Peshawar, where gunfire also was reported from, Kohat, Quetta, which is of course in the upper reaches, Miyawali, Sargoda, Chandair, Lahore, where first the HQ-9 defense system, remember, was damaged, and now, of course, explosions in that city, especially in military areas. Samungli, Multan, Shahbaz. Rafiki Air Base, one of the big air bases that were hit this time, crippling the base and also in many ways inflicting heavy damage. Farid, Bahawalpur. Now, Bahawalpur, of course, not as much a military base, but a terror camp. Sometimes you can, in fact, say it in the same sentence for Pakistan. Then Nawab Shah, Hyderabad, Faisal, Karachi, Masroor, Mirpur Khas. These are some of the areas where the bases have been on the target. But because of the kind of strike that took place, trying to target our schools, Medicare centers in Srinagar, Avantepura, of course, the attempts were foiled. Trying to attack our Punjab air base late into the night, of course, that failed. But it's a reminder of Pakistan, what it intends to do. Sandeep, can you help explain this for us? There are, of course, multiple cities that we've been talking about, but there were specific bases, whether terror hideouts of Bahawalpur or Muridke, then the bases when it comes to Islamabad, Lahore, Rawalpindi specifically, that were chosen at the targets. I can only imagine the decision-making, Sandeep, and if you can reflect on that, to decide at that juncture within minutes to be able to strike precisely where Pakistan is trying to strike us.
Well, Pooja, it's very clear. The location of all of Pakistan's air bases, every infrastructure of theirs is well known to our Air Force planners. They're on our radar always and every given time. There are operational orders of what to do in case of a conflict, and I'm sure that is where the Air Force was reaching out to last night or possibly the nights previous, their targeting books that they would have pulled out and started looking at all these air bases. And they've been monitoring the movements of Pakistan Air Force assets from around these bases. And like I said earlier, all of these bases were chosen for a particular reason. These 6 air bases were struck because they were sending up aircraft into the air to launch weapons and target Indian bases, to launch drones at Indian civilians, launch fighter aircraft sorties towards Indian aircraft, towards Indian airfields, and to target Indian military infrastructure. So all of these attacks originated from these 6 sites that were chosen. So that is the reason that they're, making the government of India has made that cause and effect, that these sites were chosen precisely because this is from where you launched your sorties, you launched your fighter aircraft, you launched your attacks on Indian civilians, and also possibly where the Pak missiles, these high-speed missiles that the spokesperson mentioned, that's a very dangerous escalation, if you ask me, Pooja, because that is something that's almost unprecedented. Pakistan
Tell us more about that, Sandeep. Specifically, the kind of escalation Pakistan is indulging in.
Using using the Air Force, Pooja, is one thing. Launching standoff weapons is another thing. But launching ballistic missiles, high-speed precision missiles is a totally different ball game. You have escalated the game in a matter of hours. A nuclear weapon state escalating dangerously, telling out the rest of the world that we are up towards the stage when we could possibly look at using nuclear weapons as well, as Geeta was mentioning. This has been the Pakistani playbook all along. They rattle the nuclear saber whenever their assets are under threat from India, where there is a lot of global pressure or there's a lot of focus, attention. And in the last couple of days, you've seen these unprecedented Indian Air Force strikes on their assets. And as India ratchets up the pressure on Pakistan, they have begun reaching for their nuclear saber, not only to signal to India, but to tell the rest of the world that, hey, listen, if you don't hold India back, we will be forced to escalate the situation and even possibly look at nuclear weapons.
And India very categorically mentioning in the press conference that India will stop if Pakistan stops with these provocations and escalations. But I have to say, Sandeep, isn't it? It does bring me a certain kind of pride and relief, happiness as well, when we look at what happened at the air bases in Pakistan and compare it to how almost all the mentions we are putting out with the border states and cities of India, it's foiled, shot down. Drones have been shot down, missiles have been intercepted, and that also reflects on the kind of synergy and strategy Indian Armed Forces ensuring to protect our own people. But meanwhile, tell me about these images. Why do you think that the government ensured we put out the images to show, for example, in Sirsa, that look, our air bases are running just fine?
Well, it's, I think the government of India decided to ramp up its communications game, as we were talking about, Pooja, just a while ago. And the fact that they chose to put out these time-stamped images to call out Pakistan's fakery. There's been a lot of fake news floating around on social media where Pakistani handles have been sharing images of what they called airfield destruction and air bases being knocked out, Indian airfields being targeted. All of this has been called out by that briefing. Quite to the contrary, the kind of damage that's been inflicted across the border seems to be substantial. If you look at those craters in the air bases around the areas in Rahim Khan, which have been targeted by the Indian Air Force, large craters, possibly suggest the use of precision-guided munitions, air-to-ground munitions. The spokespersons mentioned that in their briefing. This is again a very, very big message to the Pakistan Air Force, Pooja, that if they choose to conduct these kind of attacks across the board, across Indian territory, this is the kind of response that they will be met with.
And it's 2025, Sandeep. For far too long, I think, India has tried to be kind, to de-escalate, to not want war, to not have this conflict with the neighbor, but also perhaps realizing now, till when can you be the one keep pushing back and face these
Absolutely. I think, Pooja, you've nailed it. The government of India has signaled very clearly that enough is enough. We've been fighting Pakistan-sponsored terrorism for decades now, more than 3 decades. Starting from Kashmir and even before that Punjab, Kashmir and through the hinterland of India. This so-called death by 1,000 cuts, that this fantasy that the Pakistani generals have come up with has now reached a point of no return for them. That this much and no further. 2025 is going to be the time when the government of India has drawn that line in the sand and said that this
even
much
then,
and no
Sandeep,
further.
isn't it the restraint being shown by our Indian military to ensure civilians in Pakistan are not hit? I request you to please stay on with me because we have big news coming in. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, and Secretary Rubio emphasizing both sides need to identify methods to de-escalate, re-establish direct communication, avoid miscalculation. Our Foreign Affairs Editor Geeta Mohan joining me on that. Geeta, how do you see the response coming in from United States of America? I believe there was a conversation with Rubio a few days ago as well with the External Affairs Minister. Then comes this. Tell us more.
Well, conversations between India and the United States of America and Pakistan and the United States of America is a continued process when it comes to the tensions between India and Pakistan. But what is most important right now is not Marco Rubio, who's the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, Pooja, speaking with External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and the Pakistani Premier Shehbaz Sharif. The biggest news right now is Marco Rubio speaking with the Pakistani Army Chief. That the conversation between Marco Rubio and Asim Munir took place, and Marco Rubio insisted that there has to be de-escalation, but not just that, offered America's good officers to be used for mediation. Before this, we've had them talk about de-escalation and said that, they need to do it, they need to de-escalate, it's time. President Trump coming out and saying, you've done your tit for tat, it's now time for the two of you to sit across the table and talk. But Marco Rubio speaking with Asim Munir and saying that it's not just time to de-escalate, if need be, we are here to help the two of you come to an arrangement and an understanding. That's massive. After Iran, the Chinese have also come out, Pooja, and offered mediation. So countries in this scenario, what we are looking at right now is not how rattled Pakistan is or how the tensions are mounting and rising in between India and Pakistan, and which could impact the region. It's how rattled the world is right now. Tensions and a rise in tensions between India and Pakistan should worry the world, should worry how the countries look at this entire scenario. I keep saying this, India's position has been very clear that the ball indeed is in Pakistan's court. India was retaliating or responding to the Pahalgam terror attack, which was a game changer. It was a turning point, a playbook change, so to say, in how Pakistan and terrorism or terrorists from Pakistan looked at Kashmir and targeted a certain community in Pahalgam, sending a very strong message across to India. So the playbook, change of the playbook made India retaliate and respond. Now,
yes.
the entire focus should be on ensuring that Pakistan stops. So the world is rattled. They are concerned. This is blowing up. These are two nuclear countries, and now Pakistani premier is overlooking his nuclear arsenal. So it is a worrying point when it comes to India and Pakistan.
It may look like a threat, but knowing how unstable, unpredictable Pakistan is, and the kind of steps they could take. Sandeep, how do you look at the world response at this juncture, especially for United States of America? India, I don't think is depending heavily on their support as much, but even the statements that are coming in, China's made weapons and military hardware sold to Pakistan. We can see it, evidence enough. Turkey appears to have come to their support in terms of military support. But at this juncture, how do you see the world responding? Do you think it's time they pick a side?
Well, you've just named three of the top weapons suppliers to Pakistan, Pooja. So, I mean, it's a bit of, a little bit of hypocrisy here where the top weapon suppliers are crying for an end to this conflict. And the fact is that a lot of this arming of Pakistan has gone on over the last couple of decades. There are countries that have equipped Pakistan with nuclear weapons. I mean, it's unprecedented in the history of the world where one nuclear-armed state has transferred blueprints, know-how, and even tested weapons for another nuclear state, as has happened in the case with the China-Pakistan relationship. But here we are in 2025, where Pakistan is rattling its nuclear saber and all of its conventional weapons, which it has stockpiled over the last couple of decades to protect many other things, including its terrorist infrastructure. We have seen that in full flow over the last couple of days, where they have used their military assets to protect their terrorist infrastructure, to respond to an attack on their terrorist infrastructure. But the world is deeply concerned, Pooja. If you look at it, the fact is, at the end of the day, India and Pakistan are two nuclear-armed states, so the United States would be deeply concerned about the way the situation seems to be spiraling out of control, all thanks to the Pakistan military, which chose to escalate last night by launching these high-speed missile attacks. That is a very, very grave provocation. Like I said earlier, flying fighters launching standoff weapons is one thing, but when you start shooting precision, high-speed ballistic missiles at each other, then that becomes a problem. And Pakistan has chosen to climb up that escalation ladder by shooting these ballistic missiles because, look at it this way, that when an air defense network picks up a ballistic missile that's been launched from another nuclear-armed country, the whole system would have gone up into a massive alert. And that is the kind of signaling that Pakistan is trying to do over here by launching these missiles at India.
Sandeep, stay on with me. I want to discuss what the next 24 hours are going to possibly look like for India and as much for Pakistan. Geeta, I want to bring you in here. When USA offers to mediate, and it looks like, if you can tell us more, that S. Jaishankar appears to have said, look how our statement and our response have been still restrained, measured, calibrated, responsible in so many ways. Do you think India also needs to work more, that some of these world powers will realize that they need to be with India? They say on one side that they're with India in a fight against terror, but when it comes to an issue of Pakistan, there's still some caution, a neutrality they expect the world to have.
Well, Pooja, the fact is that every country is thinking for itself. Nobody over here is going to think for India. India will have to think for herself. That's an absolute clarity you get from what you see with the Trump administration. Absolutely an ally, strategic partner, but when it comes to their own strategic interests, they'll see what suits them best. You saw that in Russia, Ukraine, a massive shift that has never been seen before when it comes to Europe, not realizing that they had an ally and don't have an ally in the United States of America anymore. And today, when you're looking at America as a partner, you can look at America as a partner because they're transactional. It works in their favor to have a stable, responsible country like India as their partner in the defense cooperation sector. We are not a Pakistan. We are not an irresponsible country that will sell technology technology to a third party. And that's the reason why the trust building took so long, but it is there today. But beyond that, if you're thinking that America will look beyond its own interests, not really. No country is going to. Even China right now coming out and saying that they're willing to offer their good offices is because their investments in Pakistan are under absolute threat.
Exactly.
They never imagined that the Air Force bases in Pakistan, that the terror infrastructure, which they also took a lot of help from, in Pakistan is going to be in a shambles. Never imagined that India could dare to go into areas that Pakistan has investments in.
Correct.
They have development projects and they have Chinese forces protecting those development projects, which means they have Chinese men in Pakistan. Of course they're rattled. America, they're looking at a trade conversation between China and the United States of America. Trump saying that for the next talks, he's actually looking at reducing tariffs from 145 to 80. Why is that happening? Because for China, it is advantage China to have an India-Pakistan tension where India cannot be focused on economy. Right now, if America wants to think for herself, she should be thinking for India too, because it is in their interest. And that's the message. Not that please come help us.
I think standing for India, Geeta, isn't that at this point for any country is for the world interest. When we ensure we go after Jaish-e-Mohammed, we are also ensuring, in many ways, justice to the journalist Daniel Pearl. We are also ensuring that the world becomes a better place when we take on this fight against terror. Sandeep, but my question here, we're looking at all these developments that have come in. We've been able to shoot down their missiles, their targets for now, and keep our people and our military installations safe. What are the next 24 hours looking like? What, according to your experience, expertise, that Pakistan's response could be, will be, how prepared the Indian Armed Forces will be?
Well, Pooja, about the preparedness of the Indian Armed Forces, there can be no doubt. They are on full alert, they are on high alert, and they've knocked down all of those missiles that Pakistan has chosen to fire at us over the last couple of hours. And not only that, responded very swiftly to that very grave provocation that the Pakistan military chose to undertake by launching missiles. This is a very, very grave provocation. It's possibly the first time in the history of the world that one nuclear-armed state has launched ballistic missiles at another nuclear state. And I'm drawing in from what the spokesperson said, where she mentioned that high-speed missiles had been launched at Indian air bases and sites, and they were successfully intercepted. This is gravely irresponsible, reckless behavior on the part of Pakistan. But regarding the next steps in the next couple of hours, it's going to be extremely tense, wait and watch. The ball, once again, Pooja, is in the Pakistan military's court. And what Geeta mentioned is very significant, the fact that Marco Rubio chose to call Asim Munir directly and tell him to de-escalate. This is what India has been signaling from over the last 3 or 4 days. De-escalation has been intrinsic to all our statements. Even the one today is spoken in this, in the face of such extreme provocation, where high-speed missiles have been shot at against our cities and military installations. Despite that, the spokesperson has indicated, Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary, said that there was room for de-escalation. He mentioned the word de-escalation very clearly over there. And as Geeta was also mentioning, Pooja, the fact that our statements over the last couple of days have been extremely measured. They've not been provocative. They've all been in response to something that Pakistan has done. And in all of those statements, like I mentioned, there has been that de-escalation clause that the Pakistan military needs to look at very carefully. So the ball again is in the Pakistan military's court. If they choose to go down that path of reckless behavior, as they have been doing over the last few days, months, years, and if I could go back, decades, then we are going to see some other kind of military attack from their side.
Geeta, yes. Geeta, when the USA, Iran and other nations are trying to pitch in saying we can mediate, do you see that being picked up as an option? All right, we have more visuals that are coming in from different locations. This is from the Indian Armed Forces. It's an official release. Let's dip in. Let's take a look at this video. morale of the forces, of the Indian public. This many ways, Sandeep, can we say the inside video, if not, I think immediately of this operation as much, but a general understanding of how boots on the ground also perform, the kind of effort that goes in. And I can only think of the unknown heroes, whether it's with regard to undercover agents, whether it's about men and women in uniform. We may never know their names, but the kind of effort they put in to keep us safe. And now, tell me, as I look at this video, I can't help but think 1962 war, 71, 1999 Kargil war, and now we're looking at how this could proceed in 2025. How do you look at the armed forces that have come together, especially the role of the Indian Air Force?
Well, there can be no two ways about it, Pooja. The armed forces of India remain on alert at all times, and they have proved their effectiveness time and again, especially when it comes to tackling Pakistan since 1947. Look at the wars that they have fought and beaten back Pakistan's aggression from 1947, 1965, 1971. Kargil in 1999, and that war of that proxy war of terrorism which Pakistan has inflicted on Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab, that has been fought by the Indian armed forces as well for decades now. And today this video that you're watching on our screens here shows the Pakistan army being targeted by the Indian army. This is possibly an example of all the border firing that we've been hearing in the last couple of days. It seems to be a collection of images from the LOC. Some of those images are time-stamped as well, date-stamped as well. They're all from 2025 and suggest the LOC being active, the Indian Army responding to Pakistan's provocation along the LOC. Unprecedented firing has been reported, Pooja, this year.
Can you help us understand and explain more about the arms and ammunition, the weapons being used by the Indian Armed Forces at the border? This could be when we talk about the shelling, the artillery fire, retaliation and befitting response by the Indian Army. This is what it means.
This, what you're seeing there, Pooja, is an anti-tank. That's an automatic grenade launcher that's being fired. AGS-40, which is a Russian-built automatic grenade launcher that's been used to shell Pakistani positions across the line of control. You just saw a guided missile, an anti-tank guided missile, possibly a Concourse or a Milan being launched at bunkers on the other side of the line of control. So the Indian Army is signaling that it is also part of Operation Sindoor. Over the last couple of days, it's not just the Air Force, it's the Indian Army as well that has been striking back at this provocation from Pakistan across the line of control. The line of control has been very active over the last few days and hours, ever since Pakistan chose to strike at innocent Indian tourists in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April. And these are possibly the first visuals, the first visual evidence of what the situation along the line of control actually is. And the timing of this, the release of this video also is very significant, timed with the statement released by the Foreign Ministry spokesperson, the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, and our two military spokespersons. And also, I'd like to refer to the statement that they made about the Pakistan military mobilizing in the last couple of hours. That's a statement of very grave concern as well. The fact that the Pakistan army seems to be mobilizing and heading towards the borders. Of course, they have a shorter distance to their borders, but the fact is that this has been noted by India, and this video that you see here from the Indian Army is possibly a response to that as well, to say that we stand on guard, we remain alert, we remain active, ready to protect our citizens as and when that call is given.
That's right. A video that's been released by the Army. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, running you through all the updates that are coming in. This video released by the Army, as Sandeep points out, timed to multiple provocations and the escalating tensions with Pakistan. But I also want to highlight one point that you mentioned, Sandeep, which was a big takeaway really from the briefing that happened an hour ago, which is that Pakistan seems to also be forward deploying its soldiers. You know, yesterday I remember we had a conversation about this, that we're currently in a scale where we're just about at limited battle, not really there. With the developments that have happened, and if Pakistan indeed is forward deploying its troops, does that mean that's then a direct escalation?
Well, Akshita, they are certainly moving up the escalation ladder. They've been the two biggest takeaways from today's briefing seem to be that the use of high-speed missiles, as they said, fired at the airbase. We saw remnants of that missile somewhere near Sirsa. Of course, nothing happened to our air bases, but that missile was shot down. That's unprecedented. That's number one. Number two is the military mobilization that they mentioned, where the Pakistan military seems to be moving towards the international border, mobilizing in a way that suggests hostile intent. And this is something that the spokespersons called out, the hostile actions on the part of the Pakistan military. Two very big takeaways here. But this essentially shows that the Pakistan military is trying to move up that escalation ladder. They're going beyond just the stage of military readiness, border skirmishes and air battles. They're moving up one level up the escalation ladder by ordering their troops to the border and by firing high-speed missiles, ballistic missiles that could be, construed as a very, very grave provocation coming from a nuclear-armed country. Because as I was telling Pooja, Akshita, the fact is that no nuclear-armed country in the world has shot a ballistic missile at another nuclear-armed country. This is a very, very grave provocation, and this is Pakistan not only signaling the fact that its military is very unpredictable, but they're also, it's like a flare pistol. They're signaling to the rest of the world that if they don't come to Pakistan's assistance and try and, calm matters down, they could go up the escalation ladder towards the nuclear exchange as well. That's what the Pakistan military seems to be signaling here. That's the two big takeaways really from this morning's briefing.
Well, we certainly hope there won't be escalation, but the ball is in Pakistan's court essentially to decide on that. Sandeep, just stay with me. A newsbreak also coming in on the counterstrikes by India. Initial reports suggested that it was 4 locations, but here's the update that we can confirm for you, that it was actually 8 Pakistani military bases that were targeted, struck by India. We used, again, precision weapons. We also used fighter jets. Pakistan radars, their command centers have been decimated, and this is across Pakistan. In Rawalpindi, in Lahore, in Jhang, in Pakistan, Punjab, you've been seeing essentially all of these strikes taking place. A couple of places that I list out for you. You have the Rafiqul Murid, Chaklala, Rahimyar Khan, Sukur, Chunia, Parsur, Sialkot, all of these bases of Pakistan being targeted. I'd like to reiterate here that all of these are military bases, because as much as Pakistan has been targeting our civilians, we draw the line. India has principles, and so we've very clearly not targeted any civilian establishments, but Pak air defense weapon depots have been blown up. And what this establishes again, Sandeep, is that our forces have very strategically targeted locations to ensure we cripple Pakistan militarily. So this seems almost like it's a joint op with our intel agencies who've been very actively perhaps feeding our forces details of exactly where it will hurt Pakistan the most.
Absolutely, Akshita. And, it's actually more surgical airstrikes to target very specific air bases that possibly had something to do with the operations over the last couple of hours. And the choice of these 8 air bases, why were only these air bases chosen? Why were only these 8 air bases chosen? Why were the rest left out? That is possibly, suggests some kind of culpability on the part of these air bases in launching those strike missions over the last couple of hours and days. This is India telling the Pakistan military that we know where your planes are being launched from, we know where specific missions are being launched from. So we decided to go in there and target only those air bases, and we have targeted only certain infrastructure on those air bases. There's a very detailed breakup of the kind of facilities, the kind of infrastructure that was targeted in all of these bases by the Indian Air Force. It was command and control positions, the radar sites, weapon storage locations. All of these were targeted in all of these air bases, these 8 air bases, which had something to do with the events over the last few days, Akshita. The fact is that they had something to do directly against the operations launched against Indian civilians and Indian military installations. Akshita.
This is exactly what we discussed yesterday as well, Sandeep. And I remember asking you and Gaurav, how do you really ensure that Pakistan stops these kind of attempted drone strikes all through the night? Because we've seen it 2 nights in a row. And I remember both of you telling me, strike at the source. That's really the answer. And so it looks like that's exactly what our forces have done to deter any attempt to go ahead and target us one more night. We'll see what Pakistan does. They've been resorting to a lot of warmongering amid what's been happening right now. But the message here is very, very clear that after Pakistan fired the missile is when we hit back. Pakistan fired this missile at about 1 a.m. targeting strategic locations. And that's why we hit back. And so now you're seeing essentially a huge counter to Pakistan's repeated attacks. I'll also bring in on this broadcast Air Commodore Kartikeya Kale, who's joining us. Thank you so much, Commodore, for your time. One question I'd like you, Commodore, to also explain for our viewers at this point is that, look, when Pakistan attempted to strike us with missiles, to strike us with drones, all of that failed because of a robust air defense system. We've struck back. We've hit every single location we wanted to. Does Pakistan not have an air defense system? Why have they been unable to actually counter any of our strikes? We have managed to strike exactly where we wanted every time.
Any air defense system, and particularly the one that is with Pakistan, that is a HQ-9 and an HQ-16, which is a hybrid system which is given by the Chinese. That kind of a system relies on various electronics to make itself function. And it has several components like radars, components like air defense weapons, which are integrated into the system, and including human beings. And that is what makes it a good system. Similarly, we have a system which is absolutely battle-proven. It is indigenous and it was made by us. And that is showing results now. We have integrated all the weapons that we have got from outside into the same system. The Pakistanis, I presume, would have done the same. However, the quality of a system as well as the quality of training upon the system makes a lot of difference. At the same time, one must understand that certain key essential elements of the system, which have already been targeted by the Indian Air Force, they leave voids in the system. You see, the system works completely. It's like a nervous system of a human being. It works completely and it works well as long as the nervous system is functioning together. But the moment you cut a couple of nerves, you find that the person is now looking a little paralytic. He's not being able to walk steadily. You cut a couple more and you find that the person now starts toppling. So that's exactly what is happening. The Indian Air Force knows which nerves to cut. The Indian Air Force has targeted those. If you remember, one of the first targets which was struck was the HQ-9 radar, which was at Lahore. Now one must understand that in a system there are tracking radars and there are surveillance radars. The surveillance radar is the master actually and the brain behind allocating targets to various radars, because these radars are capable of very high processing levels of targets which are coming in, and therefore it's not very easy to what is called swarm them. Like people try and say that we will overload the system capability, but it's not very easy. Okay, because now technology has improved to such levels where we have technologies which are able to process and counter this kind of overloading method. So what happens is that that there is always a nerve center. That nerve center is actually the surveillance radar, and I think that in Lahore what they picked out could have been a surveillance radar that would have made the system absolutely useless immediately. Because now the system is no longer together. The tracking radars have to now independently do their jobs. So the brain is not functioning. When the brain doesn't function, then things obviously, hands are flailing about, the legs are going a different way. So the human being is not able to stand. That is the analogy that I'm trying to give you. And the similar thing has happened when they have struck, like you look at places where there are no airfields. But still the Indian Air Force has struck those places. Obviously, through intelligence, we have found out it could be either satellite or it could be human, or it could be through UAVs, which we have sent. But we found out that certain radar locations are there. And this may have been a critical surveillance node, or it could have been a tracking radar, or it also can be the launcher, but the system has been taken out. And once the system is taken out, then you find that it doesn't behave well. And that's exactly what is happening. And finally is the level of training. I've always been saying for the last 2-3 days, wherever I've spoken, that the morale of the Pakistan armed forces is absolutely, in the bottom. So because it is at the bottom, so there is actually no interest also in being able to properly execute or properly, resist.
You know, we've been highlighting how essentially their strikes have been strategy-less. But you look at India's strategy here, Sandeep, we've been very smart in how really we've been hitting different locations in Pakistan. And I wonder if you can really connect what happened in phase 2, if you will, of Operation Sindoor and what's happened here. Did we essentially set the stage for phase 3 in phase 2 by targeting some of, you know, this critical air defense infrastructure of Pakistan?
Yeah, good question, Akshita. And this is what we were discussing over the last 48 hours. The fact is that phase 2 of Operation Sindoor, we called it the suppression of enemy air defenses. It was an SEAD mission where they chose to strike at the radars. As the Air Commodore was mentioning, these are the eyes and ears of an entire air defense network. And Pakistan has what is called the ADGES, the Air Defense Ground Environment System. That's the analog that they have to our IACCCS, that is the Integrated Air Command and Control System. So this marries together all of Pakistan's radars, their missile batteries, and all of that across Pakistan. But the fact is that they are severely limited in the number of radars that they have. They primarily rely on their fighter aircraft for air defense. So once you hit the radars, the few radars that they have, they've only begun modernizing their air defense networks recently with this Chinese HQ-9, HQ-16 missiles that they've acquired. But their primary weak link, the chink in their armor remains their long-range radars. And the fact is that it's very likely that that radar that was targeted in Lahore was one of those very key radars that was part of this ADGES network. And that blew a hole in their air defense bubble. And that allowed for these subsequent strikes that we saw in the last couple of hours carried out by the Indian Air Force and on those 8 bases. So what the Indian Air Force was doing, as you rightly pointed out, was setting the stage for phase 3 in phase 2 itself. With that suppression of enemy air defenses, raids, using those kamikaze drones which targeted all of those military installations, including that very sensitive radar that was literally the eyes and ears of their ground-based air defense network.
You know, we're playing this very, very smartly. We're ensuring that there's a chain reaction of sorts so that if there's any provocation by Pakistan, we know exactly what to do next. And I suspect that if Pakistan resorts to any of its usual antics tonight too, we already have our strategy very clearly laid out of what our next step, perhaps phase 4 of Operation Sindoor, is going to look like. I want to put the focus now on the air bases, Pakistani air bases on India's target. From early this morning, we've been reporting on really the different locations where we've seen strikes taking place. I just want to put it in context for you in a map of Pakistan to show you how laid out it is across Pakistan. And look at the number of locations we've highlighted. All of this spread across the country. So it's not one pocket, one location that we're targeting. The message is very clear that we can hit you anywhere we want. 8 targets essentially that we've hit. But overall, if you look at the number of air bases on India's radar, on India's target, it's a long list. But you see from what we've hit so far, we've managed to cover most from the north right down to the south of Pakistan. And that itself tells you that if we want to hit every single one of those locations, we can go ahead and choose to do so in the next few days as well. These are the different locations on your screens. Already we know, of course, that some of them have been hit in the strikes that took place this morning, including in also Chaklala Cantonment, which is in Rawalpindi. We know the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi was also hit. There was also locations in Pakistan, Punjab that were targeted. Lahore, which, of course, we hit the air defense system in Pakistan in phase 2 of Operation Sindoor and then followed that up again with a strike this morning. So many locations that we've already hit successfully at that. Every single location, precision strike that we've hit has been bang on target. And that speaks volumes really of how we've planned this entire operation. I want to bring the focus to one particular airbase. This is the one in Rawalpindi, which is essentially the throne of the Pakistan Army, the crown jewel, if you will. This is where they're based. The Noor Air Base is where we saw one particular strike taking place. Why this particular base? It serves as a major base for the Pakistan Air Force. It also serves as the military headquarters. The messaging here is very important. India is saying we can hit you where it hurts the most. It's also located close to Islamabad, strategically important. It's a powerhouse of Pakistan. So while you think that Rawalpindi has the maximum security infrastructure, we've managed to go right through and strike not once, but twice in Rawalpindi. It houses also the Pakistani Air Force College, which trains future pilots, future members for the Pakistani Air Force. And so there's messaging involved in that too. Now, it's also a crucial facility for the Lockheed C-130 aircraft. Remember how we highlighted that we're also ensuring that Pakistan feels crippled, faces losses to the tune of billions. They may have received a bailout package from the IMF. But looking at the strikes that we've conducted, they're facing losses much, much bigger than just $1 million. They're going to need a much bigger bailout package than just $1 billion to make up for the losses that we've made them suffer in the last many hours. Let's get you some of those images of the key Pakistan military targets that we've hit at. There are videos that have come to the fore, and this particular one is of key military installations of Pakistan along the LOC. These are videos released by the government which show Indian missiles hitting the Pakistan military installations. Mind you, Pakistan Army has been resorting to targeting civilians along the border, along the LOC on the Indian side. This by far is one of really the defining images of the day. A huge, huge crater seen on the airstrip at the Rahim Yar Air Base. This is in Pakistan's South Punjab. Just look at the damage caused by one missile at the Rahim Yar Khan Air Base. Clearly visible and tells you the sheer impact of that missile. The terrorist launch pad at Luni in Sialkot, Pakistan was completely destroyed by the BSF. Pakistan initiated unprovoked firing on BSF posts in the Jammu sector. The BSF immediately responded rather strongly, inflicting heavy damage on Pakistan Rangers posts and assets. India's blown up Pakistani post that was used to launch armed drones. A projectile hit the Pakistani post, reducing it to nothing but rubble. India blew up 4 air bases in Pakistan, 8 military bases in all. Prominent among them, which I told you about, was the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. This is the footage that's emerged from that. Multiple explosions reported at the Noor Khan Air Base early this morning. Noor Khan is a critical hub for the Pakistan Air Base. And you see there the footage of the massive fire that broke out right after the explosion. So now you know exactly why the government, our forces maintained that Operation Sindoor is an ongoing operation, because we saw this coming. These multiple attempted drone strikes by Pakistan even firing missiles at India, which is unprecedented. And so last night, this morning as well, Pakistan launched drone attacks at India, targeting civilian infrastructure as well as key strategic locations. And therefore, India has given a befitting reply to Pakistan. But mind you, India maintains we will not target civilian establishments. We've drawn the line there. Pakistan clearly hasn't. After Pakistan targeted several parts of India by launching even high-speed missiles aimed at the Punjab Air Base, the Indian air defense systems destroyed Pakistan's high-speed missiles. And then in retaliation, India hit back. We made it very clear that every step we take is in response to Pakistan. So if you fire a missile, you're going to get it right back. India launched precision strikes against Pakistan and hit Pakistan with ballistic missiles. Indian fighter jets, we understand, also struck Pakistani military infrastructure. And as a result, Pakistan's HQ-16, which is their primary air defense system, their storage, their bases, all of that destroyed by India. We've also highlighted how Pakistan was continuously trying to peddle lies, spread misinformation about Indian targets being struck by Pakistani forces. This is largely on social media, so we'll also put out a word of caution not to believe all the videos that are doing the rounds claiming damages to Indian property. In a special briefing, India also showed proof that its military bases are completely intact and that Pakistan is only trying to spread lies, create a divide within the country.
There were also several high-speed missile attacks noticed subsequently after 0140 hours in the night at several air bases in Punjab. In a deplorable, cowardly act, targeting of civilian infrastructure also had taken place, where Pakistan attacked the Medicare Center and school premises at the air bases of Srinagar, Avantipur and Udhampur, yet again displaying irresponsible targeting of our civilian infrastructure. In a swift and calibrated response, Indian Armed Forces carried out precision attacks only on identified military targets.
नियंत्रण रेखा पर पाकिस्तान ने ड्रोन घुसपैठ और भारी तोपखाना गोलाबारी के कई प्रयास किए। कुपवाड़ा, बारामूला, पुंछ, राजौरी और अखनूर सेक्टर्स में तोप, मोर्टार एवं हल्के हथियारों से भीषण गोलाबारी जारी रही। भारतीय सेना ने प्रभावी व तुलनात्मक प्रत्युत्तर देते हुए पाक सेना को काफी क्षति पहुंचाई। पाकिस्तान सेना के अग्रिम क्षेत्रों में सैनिकों की डिप्लॉयमेंट बढ़ती दिख रही है, जो स्थिति को और भड़काने की मंशा दर्शाती है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल पूर्ण परिचालन तत्परता की स्थिति में है। अभी तक सभी शत्रुतापूर्ण कार्रवाइयों का प्रभावी ढंग से सामना कर उपयुक्त जवाब दिया गया है। भारतीय सशस्त्र बल दोहराते हैं कि वे तनाव वृद्धि नहीं चाहते, बशर्ते पाकिस्तान भी ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे।
Along the line of control also, Pakistan has attempted multiple air intrusions using drones and conducted shelling using heavy caliber RT guns, targeting civilian infrastructure and killing some civilians. Heavy exchange of artillery mortars and small arms fire in Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri and Aknoor sectors continued. Indian Army has responded effectively and proportionately, causing extensive damage to Pakistan Army. Pak military has been observed to be moving their troops into forward areas, indicating offensive intent to further escalate the situation. Indian Armed Forces remain in a high state of operational readiness. All hostile actions have been effectively countered and responded appropriately. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is reciprocated by the Pakistan military. Pakistan has also attempted to execute a continued malicious misinformation campaign with claims of destruction of Indian S-400 system at Adampur, destruction of airfields at Suratgarh and Sirsa, BrahMos base at Nagrota. India unequivocally rejects these false narratives being spread by Pakistan.
चिंता का विषय यह रहा कि पाकिस्तान ने लाहौर से उड़ान भरने वाले नागरिक विमानों की आड़ लेकर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हवाई मार्गों का दुरुपयोग किया ताकि वे अपनी गतिविधियां छिपा सके। ऐसी चालों ने भारतीय वायु प्रतिरक्षा तंत्र को नागरिक सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करते हुए अत्यधिक संयम के साथ कार्य करने के लिए विवश किया। साथ ही साथ पाकिस्तान ने मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन का सहारा लेते हुए आदमपुर स्थित S-400 प्रणाली, सूरतगढ़ व सिरसा के हवाई अड्डों, नगरोटा के ब्रह्मोस बेस, देहरागिरी के तोपखाना पोजीशन तथा चंडीगढ़ के अग्रिम गोला बारूद डिपो को नष्ट करने के झूठे दावे सोशल मीडिया पर फैलाए। भारत इन फॉल्स नैरेटिव्स को पूर्णतः खारिज करता है। पाकिस्तान ने हाई स्पीड मिसाइल सुबह 1:40 पर इस्तेमाल करके पंजाब के एयरबेस स्टेशन को दागने की कोशिश की। एक निंदनीय और अनप्रोफेशनल एक्ट के तहत पाकिस्तान ने श्रीनगर, अवंतीपुर और उधमपुर के वायुसेना अड्डों पर चिकित्सा केंद्र और स्कूल परिसर को निशाना भी बनाया, जिससे उसके द्वारा सिविल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर हमला करने की गैर जिम्मेदाराना प्रवृत्ति फिर उजागर हुई।
Pakistan employed UCAV, drones, long-range weapons, loitering munitions and fighter aircrafts to target civilian areas and military infrastructure. Pakistan military also resorted to air intrusions using drones and firing of heavy caliber weapons along the line of control. Along the international border and the line of control, air intrusion and several harassment attacks were also attempted from Srinagar till Nalia at more than 26 locations. Indian Armed Forces successfully neutralized these threats and majority of the vectors. However, limited damage was sustained to equipment and personnel at Indian Air Force stations at Udhampur, Pathankot, Adampur.
Let's cut across to an update coming in. You see this footage on your screens of Pakistani posts that have been destroyed by India. Now we're getting confirmation that multiple such posts have now been decimated. Indian troops using precision strike weapons once again. On Pak drone launch pads, we've directly struck to ensure that Pakistan can't resort to the same antics night after night of going ahead and launching a barrage of drones in our direction. So the footage on your screens shows exactly that. Pakistani posts going up in flames with, once again, are very precise strikes that are taking place. And these are the very posts from which the Pakistan army has not just been sending drones across, but also targeting civilians, which is why India is going right after them. We've been talking about this. Our forces are going directly after the source to ensure that, one, Pakistan is crippled along the border, can't keep firing at our civilians along the LOC, and second, can't keep sending these drones across. Shivani Sharma is joining us with more details on this. Shivani, now really that we've had a few hours to kind of grasp the impact of India's counter-strike and how we've very precisely targeted Pakistani posts, targeted air bases with crucial equipment, with crucial gear for Pakistan. Take us through really what the impact is of this. Our forces perhaps counting on the fact that with these posts being blown up, these drone strikes that we're seeing every night, that won't happen this evening.
Akshita, there is a combination of weapon systems that is being used by the Indian Armed Forces against these terror launch pads and the Pakistani army areas in which they have been trying to escalate the tension and sending across drones, the swarm drones, the bicar drones, the drones, kamikaze drones that they've been trying to send across the line of control towards Indian side and the western border. They all have been intercepted mid-air using different kind of assets, and these are the combined efforts of the Indian Army's air defense systems and also the Indian Air Force's systems. So this is a robust system, Akshita, in which videos are quite evidently showing how Pakistan's posts have been destroyed and its misadventure of entering Indian territory. And especially, Akshita, we must note here the densely populated civilization, the densely populated cities, the non-military areas have been targeted by these drones by Pakistan, and all these threats have been neutralized. There are multiple weapons that are being used by Indian Army across the line of control too. There are videos that are now emerging showing the high alertness and high readiness of the Indian Armed Forces in this situation, as we see the situation escalating each day. That started from Operation Sindoor, and after that we've been seeing how the swarms have been directed towards Indian cities, 26 cities across the western border, starting from Jammu to Bhuj to Punjab, Amritsar, Baramulla. Important military installations were at strike from Pakistan, but India has thwarted all these attempts, and India is on a high state of preparedness with the multiple weapon systems, the RPGs that the Indian Army has been launching, the ATGMs that have been activated across the line of control, along with the heavy artillery gun shells that are being now directed forcefully towards army posts of Pakistan, where army of Pakistan has been inflicted with major damages, Akshita. And there is a synergy between the forces out here, and Indian forces are striking, hitting hard, and Pakistan is trying its misadventures, to which all its attempts are now neutralized effectively.
You know, you're right in pointing out, Shivani, that we're seeing this synergy between our forces is reflective on the ground. It's reflective in the kind of precise strikes that we're seeing on the enemy targets. Let's focus really on how Pakistan has been attempting to send in these drones into Indian soil to target civilians, to target military establishments. Now, in some of your most crowded, most packed, populated border towns along the border, and this is a 3,000-kilometer stretch, that's where maximum drones are being pushed through by the Pakistan army. So have no doubt in your mind that Pakistan is trying to inflict maximum civilian casualties right now. Pakistan again last night resorted to the same tactics, attempting to attack India with a second wave of drone strikes. targeting innocent civilians. And Indian forces successfully thwarted these attacks. Over the last 48 hours here in India today, we've been highlighting for you how we have a robust air defense system that's made it essentially impossible for Pakistan to try and attack us using these drones. Pakistan attempted coordinated drone strikes at around 26 locations, ranging from Jammu and Kashmir right down to Bhuj in southern Gujarat. We have highlighted some of those locations for you. And just imagine this, along that entire stretch of over 3,000 kilometers, we have ensured we've completely warded off these drone strikes along the international border, along the line of control. As forces thwarted these attacks, drone debris was also found in several parts, in Amritsar particularly, where we understand that multiple drones were sent across. Projectile debris was also found in Barmer of Rajasthan, in parts of Gujarat as well. So it's in retaliation to this and also the missile debris that's been found at a few locations that India also carried out precision strikes on key Pakistani military installations, on infrastructure